What's good, y'all? Welcome to Chip and Zay here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. I am Zay Collier. Appreciate everybody for rocking with us on this hump day, November 5th, getting it cracking, getting it going, and happy to be here per usual. Shout out to my man Chip Brown. You know, he on his CP stuff. A little late. It's all good. I see him in the green room, ready to go. Let's bring him on.
Hey. Any more to words of Judy Brown? Happiness is a choice. We're happy you're spending some time with us. How about that Texas basketball game last night, Zay?
Yeah, how about it?
They led at halftime.
Yeah, it was looking good. It was seeming like this Texas team would finally get a dub on Duke basketball. Coming in 5-0, now 6-0. So a lot of good, a lot of bad, a lot of stuff that has me excited from watching the game last night. A lot of things that have me worried for the rest of the season with Sean Miller in his first year as the coach at the University of Texas.
Where was my man Cam Heidi?
That's what I'm trying to figure out too, because I've always wondered, why didn't Matt Painter at Purdue play him as much as he could have with all the things that we heard from Cam Heidi? And he comes in last night, 9 minutes, 2 rebounds, didn't even take a shot. Like, he's supposed to be a guy that could space the floor a little bit and could give you some type of 3-point weapon, and he doesn't get a shot up. So that's the thing that I'm talking about, Chip, on what I'm a little concerned with about this team moving forward, because I don't know about that power forward position. Like, that might be one of those positions that it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a liability. Nick Cody, he didn't show me enough. Cam Heidi's not a 4. He's just not a power forward.
Right.
So
no.
You're playing him out of position if you're Sean Miller, which, hey, that's how Sean Miller recruited. I mean, he didn't have as much time maybe as other coaches did, but still, you had your pick of the litter on the type of guys you wanted on your squad. Declan DeRue, I don't know why he only got 7 minutes. I know he came in late opposed to everybody else on coming from Germany, but he's going to have to be better too. He only had 7 minutes himself. So Nick Cody, Cameron Heidi, Declan DeRue, right now, those are your 3 guys that I see splitting those minutes at the power forward position. At this moment, I don't feel good about any of those guys right now. And you played Valkatitis and Traore at the end together, which I'm sure some folks will be like, okay, well, that's a solution. Play both bigs together. That sounds good, but both of those guys, they can't be playing 30 to 35 minutes. So you're going to run into some teams with a little bit more speed than Duke has in the front court, where it's going to be hard for Valkatitis and Traore to be in there together. And plus, you want one center in at each time, because both of those guys got promise. I was impressed with Traore and Valkatitis. They're both raw. They both have a lot of improvement to work with, but opposed to what we've seen in previous years, they actually brought some toughness. Some, we ain't BSing out here in the paint. We throwing elbows, we throwing our arms, we're using our body. We're going to be physical out here. And as a big, that's how you have to be, especially at that center position. So I get, Caden Shedrick, he tried hard last year, but he was more of a finesse big. You saw the way Valkatitis was going through guys, today. Now he's going to have to chill on that,
Learn that drop step.
Learn that drop step. Learn that jump hook. Like, he had a Euro step yesterday on the fast break that got me out of my seat. I was like, yo, 7-footers doing a Euro step, finishing with the off hand, the left hand at his size. That's rare. That's rare air. Like, he has a skill set that we haven't even seen him at his best, nowhere close. He's only a sophomore, Lithuanian kid, great touch from the free throw line. So he's not a liability. I know you pay attention to that, Chip. Like, he has a ton of promise, man. I like his game. He just has to calm down a little bit because he wants to be physical. You don't have to try to be physical when you have his frame. Like, I think it comes natural to him. I think he was trying a little bit too hard to go through the chest of Gamba, number 21 for Duke, and he got called with a, traveling. He got called with a offensive foul. He missed a layup because he was so worried about the contact. It got him off balance to where he had a wide open layup and he smoked it because he's just off balance due to just trying to lower his shoulder. Same with Traore. Like, he had those moments where his feet got tangled together because he was trying to be super physical. But both guys, they work hard to get the ball. Sean Miller obviously has made it a point of emphasis to, if they're sealing and posting up, throw them the ball, reward the bigs. And again, that's just something we haven't seen from a Texas big man in a minute. Like, I think about Dylan Dessou, who could do a little bit of everything. We know him being injury prone was his main problem, but it's been since Dylan Dessou where you could throw the ball down low and you feel good about your chances there. So, Kendall Weaver, he has to be better. Tremont Mark, he has to be better. Both of those guys combining for 5 points, that's not going to cut it. That's just, they have to be better. That's just, it is what it is. Like, those guys, they have a lot of experience. They were the guys to come back last year. From last year, they have to be better than what they showed yesterday. But, yeah, you're down by 3 with around 9 minutes to go in the second half. You're feeling good. You're in this game. Duke, they haven't really found a stride. Cameron Boozer's struggling, 3 for 12. And then all of a sudden, just the wheels fall off. Like, they give Foster a wide open jumper on the elbow. They get a huge offensive rebound right after the Traore flagrant where Duke scored and got the ball. They get a huge offensive rebound, hit a 3 there. Foster had a wide open 3 where Tremont Mark and Jordan Pope got confused on the assignment of, we're either switching or we're not. Like, we got to talk. Tremont Mark, your man's going to screen. You got to let Jordan Pope know what to do there. It didn't happen. Jordan Pope thought it was a switch. Tremont Mark stayed with his man, left Foster wide open. He hit a huge 3 that was just so deflating to the rhythm of that second half, and it really got Duke going. And just the physicality that Duke provided in that second half, it was tough. It was tough to overcome. So, again, this team, I'm not expecting them to win a national championship this year, but they did some good things last night, and there's just going to be some things due to the personnel that they're going to struggle on this season that I don't think will be able to be fixed because they just lack certain size and they lack certain skill at certain positions, specifically power forward.
Who did you like at point?
No one. I thought Jordan Pope was the best, but that wasn't really point stuff he was doing. Like, he was looking for his shot, which good for him. He looked good yesterday. Like, obviously Sean Miller has a lot of confidence and gives him the green light to shoot some of the shots that he took, which are tough shots. These are step back jumpers. Like, these are, I'm breaking my man down one-on-one, no screens coming. I'm getting off of my shot, really breaking the offense type of shots Jordan Pope hit yesterday. So if he's been working on this game to where, again, Sean Miller is giving him the green light to do so, kudos to him for doing that. But as far as overall point guard duties, Dalen Swain was probably the best one. They ran a play to open up the second half, which was low-key foreshadowing for how the second half went, which was a gorgeous play, man. They got some action where Dalen Swain was going off of ball screen and Tremont Mark set a back screen for Valkatitis, and it ended up in a wide open alley-oop. and Valkatitis just missed it. And it's like, all right. Like, what do you do with that? If you're Sean Miller, what do you do with that? You're 7 foot. All we can do is throw it around the rim and hope that, you just put it in there. You don't have to necessarily dunk it, which ironically, that wasn't the worst dunk attempt yesterday. One of the Duke players had a wide open, smoked it. That Italian brother Sar. But still, like, that was foreshadowing for how that half went, because Sean Miller, which this is why he got the gig in the first place, drew up a great play to give you a wide open layup / dunk, and they smoke it. And then the wheels just kept coming off. And, the size, man, the size at the guard position, that's concerning too, because there were times where Isaiah Evans wasn't even open, and he just shot it over Simeon Wilcher. And he just shot it over whoever the hell contend, like Kendall Weaver and stuff. And Duke, their guards and wings are 6'5", 6'8", 6'8". Boozer 6'9", Gumba 6'9". And even though you have good size at your center position with Traore and Valkatitis, at power forward, you don't. Daru's like 6'6". Cam Heidi ain't no power forward. Nick Cody's just too light in the ass at 6'8". And he had some moments where you're like, okay, that's decent. But overall, the power forward spot is just not it. And then you go to the guards. Jordan Pope, he's barely 6 foot, 6'2", if that. And Kendall Weaver, even though he's super explosive and has crazy athleticism, he's maybe 6'2". Wilcher, around 6'1". So their guards, they're not big guys, and when you're playing against the size and length of those wings, it makes sense why Tremont Mark, who also isn't the biggest guy, could struggle getting their shot off, because every time you shoot it, it's getting highly contested by a bigger player, and it's Duke at the end of the day. Like, it's, there's a reason why they have all the national championships and they have the most NBA players in the NBA right now currently. Like, they're good. They're a really good team. When your best player gives you 3 of 12 shooting and you can win by 15 against a big time Power 5 program like Texas, you're a good team. So that's their Final Four caliber. And I'm banking on that, on how Texas can improve. And they just played a team that could possibly win the national championship come the first weekend of April. But with that being said, Texas, they definitely have flaws.
Yeah, because Swain, he's going to play a ton.
Yeah.
And you've got him at the 3. So for Cam Heidi to get on the floor, he's going to have to take minutes from the 2.
Yeah, and I don't think his ball handling is good enough for that. I mean, at least we didn't see it. Like, did he dribble last night?
I mean, he was in and out of there so fast. I like.
Yeah. And that's a bad matchup, putting him on Cam Boozer. They had him on him in the second half, and Boozer was just getting to the paint. And that's the thing. They have to foul, because if they don't foul, it's an easy bucket. And Duke, their offense, the things that they were running, it was perfect against a team like Texas. Because if you're Sean Miller, you want to rely on your bigs clogging up that lane on D. You got Valkatitis, who had a solid block last night. Like, when they drove in the lane, Valkatitis and Traore, they make their presence felt. So to negate that, you got to bring those guys out, which that's what John Shire and Duke did. So when you're running that 5-out offense and you got your 7-footer on the perimeter guarding, and that paint is wide ass open, and Duke's already hit a few threes. So now you have to contest those threes. Now it's easy to get those backdoor looks, get those back screen looks, because nobody can help. Everybody's outside guarding the perimeter players because they are 5 out. So that was tough to guard for Texas. Now, you got to pick your poison. Like, there were times where Gumba had the ball on the perimeter, and I'm over here yelling at the TV telling Valkatitis, scoot back, dude. He needs to show me he can hit that shot. If he hits it, cool. But I know John Shire's over here thinking, this isn't what we want first. We want to get the ball in Boozer's hands, and we want to hope for Evans to get a shot on the outside. So you got to start playing just the numbers game. You got to start playing the analytics game at that point. And if I'm Valkatitis, okay, they've hit a couple of threes, but my man hasn't hit a three. So I'm going to get in the paint and let him shoot the ball if he wants to shoot it. If not, they're not going to be able to throw the ball down low because I'm 7 foot and I'm in here clogging that MFA, and they didn't do that, which to Texas defense there, if that big who has the ball that Valkatitis is guarding, if they do a dribble handoff and Valkatitis is in the paint, he won't be able to help on that dribble handoff, and you could be doomed there also. So that just makes that offense that John Shire and Duke were running yesterday so hard to guard for a team like Texas that just doesn't have the personnel overall to match up with Duke. Dalen Swain does, Valkatitis does, but everybody else is kind of playing out of position at times. But I like Dalen Swain's game, man. To be honest, him at point, I don't think that's too bad of a move. Like the ball in his hands as much as possible. Yeah, we need to keep that going. But Kendall Weaver, Tremont Mark, those were bad games for those guys. I expect them to be better, especially when SEC play starts.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these roles get developed because it looked like, you're trying to play your best defensive lineup as well because, Duke has all kinds of firepower, and for a half it worked, and Texas was hitting the glass. Texas out-rebounded Duke. And so that's a plus. But you're going to have to figure out how to score. And last night was not Pope had that run where he hit three threes almost in a row. And then he missed a bunch down the stretch, and he can shoot you into a game and he can shoot you out of a game.
Yeah, and to his defense, like who else was really doing anything score-wise? Like they put the clamps on Dalen Swain in that second half. They're like, okay, let's not allow number 3 to stop us, and then let's help a little bit more on the bigs. And even then, like they weren't helping on the bigs. They were allowing Valkatitis to go one-on-one, and he has to win those matchups. Like there were plays where he's right there at the rim, and he just misses it. And, nerves, I'm sure, coming off of an ankle injury too that he was dealing with. So durability-wise, how healthy was he last night? But, yeah, overall, I need Tremont Mark and Kendall Weaver. They have to be better. They cannot go a combined 5 points. What? Come on, man. Like, y'all – Tremont Mark, he kind of looked invisible yesterday. He hit that and one jumper in the lane to start the game. And then after that, you rarely saw Tremont Mark do really anything. Offensively, defensively, it was just he was getting good cardio out there. He got good exercise last night in Charlotte. And then Kendall Weaver, same thing. Like Kendall Weaver, he had that and one finish where he flexed on them. And then after that, that should have been a game for Kendall Weaver. That should have been a perfect game for him because even with Duke's athletes, he might still have been the best athlete on the floor overall. And his jumper, it's only one game. Don't want to write him off already. The jumper, I'm not feeling good about it. It looks different. It looks different, like the mechanics. I mean, he wasn't the greatest three-point shooter to begin with, but we always go back to what he did his freshman year before he got to Texas when he was at UT Arlington. He shot like almost 40%. I think he did shoot 40%.
No, he did. He shot 40%.
40% from three. And I was always confused, but you know, the only thing that I could really come to a conclusion of was, okay, that's mid-major. Now you're playing Power 5 basketball, so maybe the speed is the issue. But his mechanics were fine, in my opinion. His mechanics, the way his shot looked, his form, that looked good. It's just the muscle memory wasn't there. You know, the touch wasn't there. And those are things that you can work on. Now, Chip, the ball, when he shot it, it's kind of behind his head. He kind of kicked his foot, so it's more of like slingshot than it is just a nice, smooth, non-wasted motion. And again, that's coaching. Whether it's this Texas coaching staff that came in and tried to tweak some things, or he has a shooting coach outside of the staff that said, hey, we need to change this. And sometimes that's just not always the case. Sometimes it is. Sometimes you got to change the mechanics, just like football for a quarterback. Sometimes you got to tighten those mechanics up for a QB to where that ball comes out quicker and the spiral's tighter, etc. It's like the same thing, but you don't have to always do it. Sometimes it's just reps and muscle memory and changing little things like the arc on the shot. Or finding out, okay, where are his sweet spots on the court? Because they have all that now. They calculate all that analytics stuff. Like what these teams do with the science is remarkable. So you know where he likes the ball. You know where he's going to make majority of his shots. At least you should. So, yeah, last night he shot a few threes, and I'm just like, man, that shot does not look better. It looks worse. So again, one game. It's not fair at all for me to completely question that in one game. I need a way bigger sample size than that. But from what I saw last night, that's something. And you know Sean Miller knows shooting. Like Xavier, they were one of the best three-point shooting teams in the league. Like Sean Miller teams, when they're at their best, they are very good outside shooting teams. So he knows something about shooting. So we'll see as the year goes on with everybody. Like, again, Cam Heide, I expected more from him yesterday. I expected more.
Yeah, but did you even see enough to make a conclusion about Cam Heide?
No.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like,
if
not
Tramon Mark is not doing anything and you don't think Cam Heide, obviously Dalen Swain needs to be on the floor because he's your best player. And if Cam Heide, can't hold up at the four, certainly can't against Duke, then does he get a look at the two? I mean, he got nothing.
Yeah, his ball handling, that must be it. Like, because they would have done that. Well, maybe not. Like, we literally are talking Steve Sarkisian, why did it take him so long to move Cole Hudson to left guard and Connor Robinson to center. But I don't know, because I would think that was the move. Like, he looks like a two. He looks like a wing. He doesn't look like a power forward, So right. He's a good shooter, but if he can't dribble, if you're worried about that, then you have more than just a problem trying to get him on the floor, because then where do you play him? If he can't, if he can't dribble, what's his value?
I didn't see any real screens getting set last night. I mean, surely Cam Heide can set a screen. I don't know if they were just trying to fake show like they were going to screen, because there was no screening going on from Texas. It was like, I'm going to line up like I'm going to screen, and then I'm just going to peel. And I'm like, that's not a screen. Yeah. So I don't know. There were some concerning things going on out there. It kind of looked a little bit like last year, honestly. It's kind of a mess offensively, but it was Duke, and Duke's really good. So Duke can get you out of your game.
Yeah.
And
they're good. But also, they have flaws too. Like they have flaws.
Well, what do you attribute the 0-7 start in the first half for Boozer?
He was just missing good shots. He was just missing good shots. I think he underestimated the size of Valkatitis down low, because when he drove, there he was. So he was altering shots and whatnot. And yeah, Boozer just couldn't really get in the groove, and he's young. But
in the second half, he got to the line.
Yeah,
so
that
was a veteran smart move, because I think he was 9 of 12 from the line in the second half.
Yeah.
Which that's what you do. If your shot's not falling or if it's not working, you find ways to get to the line and score from there. So,
once they started to figure out, okay, let's just stay in this 5-out offense. And when they were that spread out and Boozer would drive, you have to collapse, but you can't collapse too much, because Isaiah Evans just hit 4 threes. And they had that one light-skinned brother. He hit a 3. And then the white boy, Humann, hit a 3. And Sar hit a 3. They shot well, 41%? So
39.
Yeah, so Duke still shot well from 3, like 39%. You gotta value that. So Boozer, a player like him, he thrives from that. That's good complementary basketball right there. I got shooters on the outside. I got a dude on the inside that's an absolute monster and just a straight up mismatch. And we're going to play to our strengths. We're Duke. It seems like complex, but it's really not. It was that easy for them last night. And John Shire, he has the luxury of having so many different talented guys that just have great size, man. I can't make that a point of emphasis enough. Just the size factor compared to Texas. Sar is out there 6'8". Humann is out there 6'8". Foster, their point guard, 6'5". Boozer, Gumba, all of these guys are getting a lot of love from these NBA scouts, because even though it's a lot on potential, they got those bodies where you're like, okay, we can work with that. Jordan Pope, Kendall Weaver, Tremont Mark, decent size, but not Duke size. And
yeah,
that's all the difference.
Yeah. Let me get a little invite out here to Dan Neal. Get him in here. Well,
I still saw some good things on offense, though. To your no screen take, I saw some good things on offense that I liked. That is going to work in their favor. But yeah, that power forward spot. Because I saw Daru's highlights from Europe. That dude could play a little bit. He got no love yesterday. I don't know why that is. He also just looked kind of lost out there. He doesn't know his role or what to bring to this team. But yeah, he's way better than what he showed in the 7 minutes that he played. Same with Wilcher. Wilcher, he got a 3 off yesterday. That form looks nice. That's going to be a weird dynamic, because obviously Miller wants to play both Pope and Simeon Wilcher coming off the bench. But both those guys are small. That's what I'm saying. Like, you're playing those guys together. They're both the size of point guards. Duke starting point guard. They bring in the other Boozer twin. He's like 6'4", 6'5", playing point. So their 1 point guard is 6'5". Your 2 point guards are 6'1" that you have in the game. Come on.
All right. We'll get back to Texas basketball. We'll get to the college football playoff rankings, but right now let's get to the All-American from the University of Texas, two-time Super Bowl winner with the Denver Broncos, All-American offensive lineman, best player ever to wear number 69 in Texas, the one and only Dan Neal. Dan, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Chip. Zay, how you guys doing?
Good, Dan. Appreciate you.
Good.
Yeah, man. Dan, we brought you on when things were looking leaky on the offensive line. And so, they move Cole Hudson to left guard, keep Connor Robertson at center. And lo and behold, the offense, they were able to protect Arch, run it a little bit. Wanted to get your thoughts on what you saw in the Vanderbilt game.
It certainly was better up front. No question about it. I've had this discussion with a few people because I was kind of frustrated going around saying, well, you're not going to get much better with the 5 guys you have out there. And I'll defend that statement in that they got one new guy and Cole Hudson at guard and decided to go away from Brooks at left guard, which I think was a huge improvement. So that they got better, not with the 5 guys they had, the week before, but with the 5 guys that they had against Vanderbilt, they got better up front. I know it's just changing one guy, but that was very impactful. The other piece about this, and let's not overlook this piece, is their decision on how to throw the ball. And the play that I bring up as example number 1 is the first play of the game, where they threw it out the window, had, I think, a 78-yard touchdown. If you watch that play, now let's take that play for what it is. It's what you call a play action run. So the offensive line basically gives run action to the left. And what that means is an offensive lineman really just run left. I don't care if you block anybody, just run left because everybody's going to run with you because that's the action. And then we're going to boot the quarterback the other way. Well, that action and his movement the opposite way is the time that we need to throw the ball. So my offensive lineman literally does nothing, and we throw a 7-8 yard touchdown. Now, I'm not being critical of offensive line. That's a hell of a play to call. I don't care what offensive line you have, but if you have an offensive line that struggled, it's a great play to call. And that's the type of stuff they did on offense throughout the game. In other words, they asked as little from the offensive line as they could get away with, and that it worked. It really worked. So, it limits what you can do, but it also is accepting what we can do and doing what you can do. And I think that's going to be a big part of what they do the rest of the year.
Well, in terms of, pass protection, looked like they picked up some blitzes. Arch doesn't get sacked. He only gets hit once. What did you think of the pass protection?
They knew what to do inside better. Here's the thing about pass protection. A lot of these twists and things I talk about, a lot of it kind of falls on the inside 3 guys more than an outside guy. The outside guy kind of has that guy outside of him, that end most of the time. And if he runs inside, then a tackle is looping from the outside, and that's the last guy to get there. And it's not hard for the tackle to pick that up most of the time. So the ability to play better inside really helped them solidify. Now, the blitz pickup kind of falls on everybody. I didn't notice Vanderbilt blitzing as much as I thought they would. I did notice one time a guy came free, but from what I saw, they did do a better job of picking up the blitzes. And I think that has something to do with Hudson's, experience. And also Connor Robinson's been on the team for a few years, played a few games. So I think their experience helped with handling the blitz a little bit better than they have before, certainly.
Yeah. Dan, what have you noticed with Arch Manning and just his control of the line and understanding what he's looking at pre-snap? Because I feel like he's gotten so much better since we saw him week 1 against Ohio State, where Matt Patricia was throwing the kitchen sink at him, to now where he just looks, again, just so much more comfortable in the pocket and getting the ball out of his hands quick.
Well, the way I sort of have explained it is this: if you're a quarterback and you see the quarterback walk up to the offensive line, he'll often point at a linebacker. You see him in the center pointing at all this stuff. What they're doing is they're declaring essentially what they're doing. There's more to it, but this is a basic. They're declaring who's hot. Who do we not have a blocker for if he were to come? And the quarterback's identify, okay, if that guy blitzes, no one's got him, meaning I got to get rid of the ball hot off of him. Then once I take the snap and that guy doesn't blitz, I'm thinking, well, my offensive line's blocking the other guys for the 3 seconds that I have here. Theoretically should happen that way. I can look to the coverage, so I don't have to stare at the D linemen to see where they're coming from. I have confidence my offensive line is going to do their job. Well, put yourself in Arch's position. They identify who's hot. He doesn't drop. And then some other guy comes from somewhere else and the offensive line doesn't pick it up and I get tattooed in the back of the head where I'm not expecting it. Well, how long is it going to take you to drop your eyes and start looking at the rushers and not look downfield at the receivers? It's a tough position to be in for a guy that's never played. Well, now he's played and he's played and he's played. And I think what you're seeing is the advent of him understanding what's going on and more comfortable with it. In a tough position, because if they would have blocked better up front earlier, I think he would have played better earlier. I think it's just taken some time because they've struggled up front to where now you can see him starting to get a little more comfortable. And also, again, back to the play calling. That first throw to Wingo, great throw. I mean, yeah, it was about a 40-yard toss. Not easy, but that's an easier throw than a 50-yard go route. So you're asking him to do things that's easier to do and put it in the playmaker's hands, let them make plays. So I think you have a combination of all that for Arch, where they're calling better plays. They're a little better up front. He's adjusted to what's going on better. And you're seeing the talent that we knew he was. It's just taking a little bit to get there.
Yeah. Talking to Dan Neal, All-American offensive lineman at the University of Texas, 2-time Super Bowl winner with the Denver Broncos. Dan, after the game, Arch Manning said that Cole and Connor are 2 of his best friends. It was good to have them out there together. It was about as big of an endorsement as you can get from the quarterback. From a chemistry standpoint, is that something that we need to pay attention to, or is that whatever?
I wouldn't say necessarily chemistry between your left guard, center, and quarterback. I think between your left guard, center, yeah. It helps to play with someone and comfortable with. And I think you're seeing a little bit of that. And I do think Hudson's more comfortable at guard. And I get this. Center and guard a lot of times considered interchangeable. I played both of them in college. I did not like center. I was much more comfortable at guard. I could go out there and service it, but it wasn't where I wanted to be. So I think that's part of it too. But it does help, again, when you have some communication capabilities between the guys up front and they have confidence and they know what each other's doing. All that does go into playing better up front.
Yeah, because I remember Lyle Senline and Casey Studdard, best friends, roommates. They would try and get a guy's arms up in the air so that the other one could come in and get a rib shot, Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. You'll find in most teams, the offensive line are usually a pretty tight-knit group. It's kind of funny, you've been in a football locker room. It's totally segregated by position to the point where you meet by position, your lockers are segregated by position. You tend to room with guys in your position group. It's just the way it's always been. And so most of your linemen tend to get along with each other. It's really hard to function in that room if you don't.
Yeah. Dan, what are you noticing from this defensive line? I mean, as of right now, they're leading the nation in sacks. Colin Simmons playing like the superstar player that we thought he was going to be coming into the season. What are you noticing about that front defensive line?
Well, I'll say this: earlier in the year, and let me full disclosure, my frustration with UT football was at an all-time high this season. When I saw some of the games earlier in the season, mainly that Florida game, that's where I almost blew a gasket. In that, I think the Ohio State game and the Florida game, we had 0 sacks in both those games. And I kind of said, these guys are great pass rushers. They're great players. They need to play like it, because they're not. And then all of a sudden, Oklahoma, we got after them. I think we had 4 or 5 sacks against Oklahoma, and we've kind of been on a tear since. And that's really, you look at prior to Vanderbilt, we beat the 2 worst teams in the SEC, and that's a fact if you look at the record. 2 worst teams in the SEC in overtime. So we ended both of them regulation with a tie. Now, granted, they were on the road. The only reason we had a tie was because of our punt returner. And so it's not like this team's been just rolling over people. We're getting by the skin of our teeth, and then we go out and Vandy look pretty good. Part of how we got those wins was our defense and the pressure they were getting on the other offenses, because our offense wasn't scoring, but neither was theirs, because that pressure. And you could see with, Pavia, he was running for his life, and that is a good Vanderbilt offensive line, guys. They are better than people think, and we actually tore them up. I was shocked. We really got after them. We got guys. 14, great pass rush, right? Where did he come from? I know he's a transfer, but we got guys. You don't even think. Yeah, Arkansas guy. Yeah, you don't even think about all of a sudden where these guys come from. We have a ton of talent over there, and they really played well against Vanderbilt, and it's kind of what you want as a team. You want to get better as the season goes on, peaking at the playoff time. And certainly that Vanderbilt game's got to get everybody taking a breath. Now, I don't mean to go off a tangent here, but we talk about the offensive line. Chip, did we have 100 yards rushing? Where were we
100
at?
On the nose.
100. Okay, I always tell people kind of a minimum for a rush game should be 4 yards a carry, 100 yards a game, minimum. We hit 100 yards. But that's going to be a problem for us if we don't get better in that realm. Because you look at that game against Vanderbilt, we had 21 unanswered points at the end of that game, almost let them back in the game. Part of that was our inability to put together a solid run game to kill the clock and eat the game up. We were having too many situations. We're getting 3 and out. We're not eating enough time, putting our defense back out there and giving a good offensive player chance after chance. He's going to make you hurt for it. So we're better in a lot of areas, but that run game is what we need to figure out too.
Yeah. That was a huge problem against Georgia last year, averaging 1.1 yard per carry in both of those games. A lot of that was sack yardage, which stupidly in college is deducted from the run total. In the NFL, it's deducted from the pass total. But that it's also not the same Georgia defense as last year. So we'll see. I mean, in terms of, confidence going on the road, do you think this adjustment on the offensive line is enough to, help them get over the hump? Or is it or is it part of the solution? And
it's part of the solution. Let me say this. One guy on the offensive line. Let me be honest with you guys. After watching that game, I told someone, I did not realize that one player that wasn't playing well on the offensive line made that big of a difference, because that's really what it was. Is they removed one guy that was just really struggling and put Cole Hudson in that spot, who played better, right? And all of a sudden we looked like an offensive line. I was shocked by that. And much as I've been around this game, I did not realize that. So I guess it could be impactful, but then on the flip side, I wouldn't think that one offensive lineman difference is going to totally change your run game to all of a sudden you're rushing for 200 yards a game. Yeah. And here's what I kind of scratched in my head at, and that is, all Hudson and Robertson were on this roster week 1, and we didn't figure this out until Vanderbilt. I kind of I don't understand why it took us too long to make a move like this. I think we should have done it earlier. But anyway, we've done it now, and so it is better. But if this is enough, I don't know if it's enough to beat Georgia. look, you go on the road to Georgia, even when you're playing really well, you got to play close to a perfect game, and things got to go your way to beat a team like Georgia in Athens. I mean, it's just why on the road is so tough. I would say this team would certainly have to have those things happen. We got to get a couple breaks, and we got to have Arch play as the playmaker on offense for us, because he's got to be that guy. If those things happen, I think we have a chance against Georgia, but it's gonna take a special day to beat them.
Yeah, especially in their place where they came into the season with a 31 game home winning streak. I think it got to 33, and then Alabama beat them there, which is promising that someone beat them there.
Well, I mean, they're beatable. Florida, I mean, arguably a catch away from, potentially beating Georgia. What a great game. They're not the Georgia of last year, and their defense isn't as good. Now it's still the same coaches, the same philosophy and things. So their defense is good. I mean, last year they had 4 or 5 NFL guys, but you certainly have you got a puncher's chance in Athens. In the way you played against Vandy, you got to feel, all right, maybe we do have a chance here. We finally didn't, win a game in overtime. We actually beat them.
Yeah.
So.
What do you think of the running game, like the running backs and where they're hitting the holes? And
I like him. Wisner I really like. I think he definitely likes to get north and south and run. Anytime you see a guy after he gets the ball handed to him do any kind of sidestep, jump cut crap, that's bad. Okay, a back that gets the ball, plants a foot, lowers his shoulder, and then shot out of the cannon, that's good. That's really all you got to look at. Part of that is having a clear, decisive picture of where that hole is, because your offensive line, that helps. And I think you see our backs, we'll do the jump cut dance stuff because there's just nothing clear in front of them. They don't know where to go. They got to just kind of get away from that and just get it and go. And if it's not there, get a yard. No negative plays, positive all day long. That's where I'd like to see our running game go. But I do like Baxter and Wisner. They are good backs. They really are.
And real quick, Zay, I mean, with this off week, how much progress do you think? Because there's a rhythm with a running back and an offensive line, right? And if this is the new line, how much progress can be made in 2 weeks of practice?
Oh, there's certainly going to be some progress. I mean, yes, it's a new line, maybe a little bit different picture for the back. And what I mean by that is, look, going right to left, if there's a combo between my right tackle and right guard, it could happen a little bit difference between my left tackle and left guard. Good backs know this. They have that feel for each side. And there's a outside zone, inside zone. Where that hole's it's going to be different for both of those. And then the defense will determine. So, yeah, there's a lot to what that picture is going to be in the back's preparation for it and the guys up front and how they handle it. But the system should be pretty interchangeable. In other words, this is where we feel this seam will be every time, no matter who's in there. But another week can only help you get better at that.
Yeah. Are you concerned about the secondary any, or are you just looking at it as, okay, once Michael Taft gets back, once Jelani McDonald gets healthy, these guys will look like they did earlier in the season?
So there's 2 types of mistakes, as you know. There's mental and physical. Mental we can fix. Physical get a little bit harder. And those were all mental mistakes in the back end. And yes, it's kind of coincidental that Taft was not in there, and they all of a sudden had 2 big mental breakdowns that cost them points. So I would agree with you that probably getting Taft back would maybe, help with I know would help maybe if, negated those 2 situations. So I'm not worried about that. It's mental mistakes that I think they'll have fixed. They probably had fixed Monday night.
Yeah. That's key.
Yeah.
Dan, it's, when you look at the 3 remaining games at Georgia, home against Arkansas, home against A&M, which game do you think is the most difficult for Texas? Is it Georgia because it's on the road? Is it A&M because they're playing the best?
Well, I guess so. There's two questions or 2 points that who's the most difficult opponent or most difficult game? I think maybe most difficult opponent right now might be A&M. I think they're playing a little bit better in Georgia. I've watched them a few times this year, and that is a good football team. Their defensive end number 9, man. If I was playing left tackle, I wouldn't sleep for months.
Cassius Howell.
The Duke could play. Wow.
Yeah.
So, but most difficult game, and this is what I talk a lot about. Home field advantage is significant. Going on the road is really, really tough, especially for an offense to operate. So I would think for Texas, I'm going to throw 2 thoughts into this. Yeah, I'm going to go with Georgia as a more difficult game. A&M better team, but then that A&M game end of the year at home, those are the kind of things you remember the rest of your life. So I think that's just such a different game. It's that outlier like OU. It is what it is, and it's always going to be a game, no matter what.
Yeah. Could you see? I mean, the college football playoff, standings got put out yesterday for the first time, and now the talk is could possibly a 9-3 Texas team make it in. Do you see that happening?
I honestly say, I tell you why. I'll tell you this. I don't know, and I'm going to tell you why I don't know. And this is what I like about college football today. I get asked about rankings quite a bit, and I'm like, I could care less. Here's why. Now, I understand. If you don't win your conference, the rankings come into play, and I get it. If you're in the SEC and you play in the conference championship game and lose, you're going into the playoffs. Texas controls their destiny. They have all year. They win the rest of their football games, regular season, they're going to get in the playoffs. And if they win the SEC championship, they are guaranteed to be in the playoffs. So that's all I'm worried about. I'm not worried about a 9-3 team. They control what happens for their season. It's up to them what they want to be and where they want to be at the end of the year. Totally up to them. And as a football team and a player, that's all you ask. That's what I like about our system. It's not a bunch of voters. It's you on the field decide what you're going to do. So I don't know. Could a 9-3 team? I don't know. A lot of things have to happen. I know we win, or Texas wins the next 3. I know they're in.
Yeah.
Dan, Anthony Hill, they've been playing a little more at strong side linebacker, keep him close to the line of scrimmage, get him involved in the pass rush. He's got 4 sacks in the last 2 games. His tackling numbers are up. He's, that puts Lafau and, Ty Anthony Smith or Lafau and Trey Moore at middle and weak side linebacker. But, man, you're getting the results from playing Anthony Hill closer to the line.
Yeah, no, I like it because his pass rush ability. That Mike Backer's are going to almost never rush the passer. He's going to be the guy that's always going to be off the ball in the middle of the field. And he's your tackling machine. But, Anthony Hill is so athletic. Not that your Mike's not, but, he's so athletic at that outside position because outside is going to have to cover more area. Weaker Sam, you're going to have to cover more area than the Mike does. And a lot of times you get coverages, the Mike doesn't as much, and you got to do kind of a few more things. So his ability certainly speaks to he could be a Sam or Will if they want him to. I think he's played really well out there, and especially rushing the passer. It's fun to watch him.
Who does Colin Simmons remind you of?
I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. You asked me that, and the first name that came to my head, and it was the name I just drew a blank on his name. The Aggie that played for Denver all those years, Von Miller.
Von Miller. Yeah.
And the reason I bring that is Colin Simmons just isn't a huge guy. And Vaughn's not either, but Vaughn is just his body control and his movement and those type of things. Colin has a lot of those similarities. Really a speedy guy out there. Not as speedy as Vaughn, but close.
Yeah.
And he's getting more physical. Like, he's taking on blocks, shedding them, and making the tackle. And that was the next step for him, right?
Yes, and also developing his pass rush skill. Let me tell you, learning how to rush a passer. We could sit here and name a bunch of guys that got drafted high and just didn't do anything for a year or two. Then all of a sudden they blow up and are these great pass rushers. It's a skill. And I think he's developing into a skilled pass rusher. He's really understanding how to rush the passer, in addition to being more physical. And I agree with you, Chip. He is taking on blocks. And you got to play the run at that position. You can't just rush the passer. And as he's gets those skill set to rush the passer and develops as a run stopper, that's when you become that complete end.
Well, and then I got to ask you about Ethan Burke, because, you know, he had a sack that pushed them backward for a 48-yard field goal where he's just pushing a double team backward. Simmons flushes the court, Pavia up, and Burke's able to get him. I mean, just talk about what you're seeing from Burke, because he's had 3 sacks and, block field goal in the last 2 games.
So I've been an Ethan Burke fan for a long time, back to his Westlake days. I'll say this. He's one of those guys that I think we will develop into a pretty good pass rusher. He's not there yet. He's just not scratched the surface of what he's capable of. It's almost like he doesn't realize how good he could be yet. If you watch him rush the passer, it's kind of 1 or 2 moves, all based off power. And I'm like, man, you got speed too. Use it. Use that body lean, that elusiveness, those long arms. He's going to in time keep getting better at that position, and he is this season. But he's one of those guys I sneakily think like in 2 years in the NFL, he'll all of a sudden turn into a pass rushing stud.
Yeah. Your Broncos, man, leading the West right now. How you feeling?
You mean the owners of the NFL in Texas, the Denver Broncos, who beat the crap out of the Cowboys and Texans? That's right. That's right. Yes. The Denver Broncos.
let me ask you this. How'd you feel about my man Sean Payton going that Russell Wilson, and then Russell Wilson tweeting about it later, talking about the bounty and stuff? And obviously that relationship went sour a long time ago, but weird.
So here's what I think. I think Sean Payton doesn't even think about Russell Wilson, and he was making those comments. I don't think Russell Wilson crossed his mind. And I think Russell Wilson's team, now this is the key to all this. I don't think Russell made one single tweet or text or whatever that is. That was his team that did it, saying, oh, here's an opportunity to make Peyton look bad. Let's do it. I think it was in poor taste. I think that's just kind of who Russell Wilson is, and that's why he's moved on from Seattle. He's moved on from Denver. He's moved on from Pittsburgh. And he's moved on from the Jets. I think his teammates, as a teammate of his, because I've never been one, I can only just guess here. I don't think guys want to be his teammate. They don't really want anything to do with him, and I think you're seeing that, in those type of actions. I don't get it, but yeah, it teaches them.
Yeah. How, you watch probably the Broncos as close as anyone. What are you seeing from Jade Barron?
I'll say this. I don't get to watch them as close as I like. I only get to watch them their game of the week. That's why I was so excited they played Dallas and Houston, because then it was on. And then, of course, tomorrow night I will be watching them against the Las Vegas Raiders. Jade Barron, when Surtain went down, I did read an article about Jade. I hadn't really seen him play until the last couple of games, and there's kind of a point where they're ready for him to kind of take that next step. He's been good, but not really stood out, I guess, as a first round pick might be in some people's mind. But with Surtain down, he's certainly getting a lot more playing time, and he certainly was part of the rotation, but a significant part now. And I feel like he's done pretty well. He's a rookie. It takes a minute at that position. I think people don't realize very few guys will step on the NFL field as rookies and play at a high level. I see Jody as a guy that, he's going to be a great player for him. He's just going to take him a minute to get there. And with Surtain down right now, he's getting an opportunity to go out there and learn quickly.
Dan, you're the best. We always appreciate your perspective, my man.
Well, Chip, you know my wife's number. I want you to call her and remind her that I'm the best.
I got you. I got you. I love it. Hey, let's do it again soon.
Hey, anytime, guys. I always love doing it. Love talking to you guys. You guys have a great rest of your day.
Appreciate it, Dan. Dan Neal, All-American on the offensive line at the University of Texas, 2-time Super Bowl winner with the Denver Broncos, breaking down the offensive line and what he's seeing. And now we go to our national college football analyst, transfer portal guru, the one and only Hole-in-One Hummer. Ooh, Hole-in-One Hummer's outside. What's going on? Oh, you're on mute.
My bad. First of all, y'all making me follow Dan Neal. That's tough.
You're a legend too, man. Come on.
I'm not that kind of legend, man. Not that kind of legend.
Hey, you're Hole-in-One Hummer, for God's sake. Hummer, Texas Longhorns. My God, they got off to a fast start. They looked like they were in control against Vanderbilt, and they were for 3 quarters. What did you make of that Texas Vanderbilt game?
I mean, I know the last 5 minutes probably made Texas fans squeamish, but it was the most complete game Texas has played this season. Like, the offensive line was so much better. It is difficult to describe how much better that unit was. Arch finally had time, and I think we're seeing continued maturation from Arch Manning. Steve Sarkisian said as much after the game on Saturday, and I know the defense had some busts late with 2 backup safety kind of in the game. But that unit, especially the front 7, is getting pressure the way we expected them to early in the year. And if this version of Texas shows up every week, I'm not picking Texas to make the playoff. I think it's a very difficult road with Georgia and Texas A&M left. But it's not unreasonable to think that Texas can make some noise down the stretch if the team plays that way against those 2 teams.
Yeah, Hummer, and let's talk about, obviously the committee putting out the first standings that we see for the college football playoff, and Texas coming in at 11, outside looking in. But now the talk is, can a 9-3 Texas team possibly make the college football playoff? You just said you don't see it happening, but I don't know if that's because you think Texas is going to go 8-4, or your thoughts on that.
Well, I was saying I don't see it happening because a 3-loss team has never made the playoff before. And until we see otherwise, I'm going to go with history. Obviously, we only have 1 year of history with the 12-team playoff, so we don't know how they'll judge that. But I think Texas would have to look really good down the stretch. Texas has been very inconsistent this season. I know the loss to Ohio State looks decent on paper, but that was a 14-point game with 6 minutes left. Texas hadn't scored that whole time. 2 close wins over Kentucky and man, I am totally drawing a blank, in Mississippi State. And then, you lose to a Florida team that fired its coach 2 weeks later. It hasn't been the best stretch of football for Texas, but that's the beauty of the SEC. There's a lot of time to change that. They have 2 really big opponents left. And let's say you go out to Athens and you win by 2 scores, and then you lose to A&M by 1 touchdown, or in a close game at home. Who knows? Maybe a 3-loss Texas team does get in at that point. But I think it's an uphill battle if you have 3 losses. Texas would serve itself really well to win out, because then you erase any questions.
Hummer, I'm looking at those. You're starting to look at resumes now, and outside of the top 5 teams, I mean, Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, they have impressive resumes. Alabama, Georgia, Oregon, who've they beaten? Notre Dame, who've they beaten? It's a weird year. So, part of the the Sankey, filibuster on going to the 9-game SEC schedule was, we want assurances that the committee's going to consider these new metrics, the strength of schedule, all that. So the sense is a 3-loss team from the SEC is going to get in eventually. It didn't happen last year. Ole Miss and South Carolina just missed. But who do you think is the likeliest? Like, you've got Vanderbilt, Missouri, Texas, all there with 2 losses. I don't know. It seems like the field is not as strong in the ACC. Good God.
I agree. The ACC is way down. Way down.
So what do you think? I mean, is this the year that a 3-loss team could get in?
It's possible. I think Texas is the most likely of that group when you look at strength of schedule, and most importantly, what they can win down the stretch. If Texas has 3 losses, it means it beat Georgia or A&M, which means it has a top 5 win on its resume, which is better than what Vanderbilt can say. It's better than what Vanderbilt can say, and it's better than what Missouri can say. So Texas is best positioned to do that. They can also make the SEC championship game still. Texas is in a position to do that. So it's possible, but I don't know what the math looks like exactly. But let's say Texas Tech beats BYU this weekend, and Texas Tech and BYU play for a conference championship, and one of those teams loses. Does a 3-loss Texas get in over a 2-loss Big 12 runner-up? I don't know. I think the ACC is going to be a 1 big lead. You can kind of check that box, but Notre Dame's going to get in if they win out. If Notre Dame loses like one of the next couple weeks and they're at 3 losses, that opens up a spot for another SEC team. But as long as Notre Dame is in this discussion among the 12, like the Big 10 is going to get 3 or 4, the SEC is going to get 3 or 4, Notre Dame's going to get a spot, the Big 12 is going to get 1 or 2, and the SEC will get 1, and the Group of 5 will get 1. So I think the SEC's 3 bid question comes down to what happens in the Big 12 the rest of the way and what happens with Notre Dame the rest of the way.
Yeah, Notre Dame, oh, good Lord. Because that Miami loss is looking worse by the day. Who's the team we're not talking about that you see poised to make a move
in the college football playoff rankings?
Yeah.
When I look at the top 25, like I have a really hard time after like 15 or so saying there's a realistic chance for somebody to make a jump. But if you're talking about a team with like the opportunity to make a move, like Iowa's a really interesting team. Like Iowa's playing really good football right now. It's best football of the year. Has a 5-point loss to Indiana, a bad loss to Iowa State early in the season, but that was when Iowa was missing most of its receivers. And Iowa still gets to play Oregon, USC, and Nebraska. Like those are 3 really big opportunities for Iowa. You win 2 of those 3, beat Michigan State handily. I'm not saying a 3-loss Iowa gets in the playoff. We just talked about how the unlikelihood of a 3-loss team getting in. But if Iowa has like a win over Oregon or USC and has a close loss to Indiana on its resume and wins out otherwise, like it's a pretty strong schedule. And if Iowa can run the table, like they're going to make the playoff and be a really high seed. So Iowa's a team I look at. I also look at Utah because I am not closing the door on Utah at 13. I think Utah can still get the Big 12 championship if things break their way and they're capable of winning it.
Yeah. Hummer, what did you notice from the committee from these first set of rankings?
Yeah, strength of schedule didn't matter as much as they made us maybe say it did. And I'm not trying to upset anybody in SEC country. It's weird to say that we're an SEC country in Austin, but I feel like strength of schedule is kind of hypothetical in a way. Like my eyes tell me that the SEC is a better league, but that's kind of like the SEC beating up on the SEC and the SEC getting credit for beating up on the SEC because their like hypothetical strength of schedule is so strong. But I think if you look at the metrics, like a team like Texas, like with 2 losses should probably be ahead of a team like Notre Dame because the strength of schedule is harder. Obviously more goes into that in terms of like how a team is playing in the moment, like the way other games were played out. But I did expect strength of schedule to matter a little bit more at the top. I think you saw it with like Notre Dame versus Oklahoma, Utah being ranked ahead of Virginia, Louisville, for example. But I think like there's an argument for Texas A&M to be number one if you like base strength of schedule is like one of your main factors, and having Ohio State and Indiana above them is just one of those things. You like, I get it, I understand it. I have Ohio State and Indiana above Texas A&M right now too, but if strength of schedule is going to be like one of the more defining metrics of this year, I was a little surprised to see the committee not have A&M number one.
Yeah, and I thought Indiana should be ahead of Ohio State. If Oregon is all this, and I don't get Oregon. Like, Oregon has beaten nobody. And I want to ask you, who do you like? Oregon's going to Iowa.
It's a really interesting matchup because you're talking about maybe the fastest team in college football in Oregon. Like, that team is fast, versus an Iowa team that is really good in the trenches. They have one of the best offensive lines in college football, one of the best defensive lines in college football, a quarterback in Mark Gronowski, who is like sparked the offense with his ability to run. I tend to think speed wins out in these situations, but going to Kinnick, playing Kinnick when they're playing that game is a really difficult proposition. I've got Oregon winning. I trust Oregon more. I trust the ability to score consistently more, but I did have Iowa covering. I think it's like definitely primed for a potential upset.
Yeah. Possibly early showdown for the Big 12 title. Hummer, BYU going to Lubbock to play Texas Tech. The line is crazy. Like, I don't understand that at all. Minus 10.5 for Tech. Can you help explain that for me, please?
Yeah, well, I don't want to upset any BYU fans, but like, it's fair to say the Cougars have been a little lucky at times this year with the way they've won. They've had some really nice bounces go their way. They won in double overtime against Arizona, 1-score win over Utah, 1-score win over Colorado. If you go and look at post-game win expectancy, like, I know it's kind of it's a funny stat, right? But just like basically who won the downs most frequently. Parker Fleming on Twitter, he used to cover TCU and is now a big data guy, has a great stat every week that looks at like who should have won the game based on like the down to down numbers, like who executed better. And if you look at BYU every week, they kind of squeak by. And I'm not discounting BYU being unbeaten. This is the second year in a row and they've done great things, but I think Texas Tech is just a more complete football team. And this game matters so much to Texas Tech because Texas Tech, if they lose, probably doesn't make the Big 12 championship game with one of the most expensive rosters in the sport, one of the most all-in rosters in the sport. So this is just a really important game for Texas Tech, and I think they're the better team.
You think they cover the 10.5?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
They've won every game that Baron Morton has started by 20-plus points this season.
Yeah, I mean, the one they lost, he didn't play against Arizona State. A lot of interesting action at A&M at Missouri. I want to ask you about that because that game 2:30 on ABC. A&M is favored by 6.5. What do you Missouri? Obviously, they don't have Bo Perbula. Is that just cripple Missouri?
It's tough, man. Although Matt Zollers, I don't know if any Texas fans watched the Vanderbilt game the week before they played Texas, but Matt Zollers came in and played really well against Vanderbilt for a little bit. He looked really good. That's a player that Missouri has a lot of faith in. But that's a tough one, man. You're down to your third string quarterback if you're Missouri, basically. I think people forget Sam Horn was going to be the backup going into the year, was competing with Bo Perbula to start and suffered a season-ending injury before the season even really got going. So it puts Missouri in a tough position. But I will say, like, if a team is built to make an upset, it's Missouri. If an upset happen, it's Missouri. Like, this is a team that wins up front in the trenches. They run the ball really well, an exceptional offensive line, arguably the best defensive line in the SEC. They're going to make A&M earn it. I just don't know if Missouri is going to score enough to stay in this game for long. I kind of took the coward's way out. It took A&M to win by 6, so a small Missouri cover, but an A&M win.
Hummer, Miami, man, they've really gone in the crapper. It seems like a month ago they looked like the best team in the nation with how good that offensive line looked. And then after you lose to Louisville, you come back and lose to Chip's Mustangs. And now they fell all the way to what the committee put them at 18 for the college football playoff rankings that dropped yesterday. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that was interesting to see them all the way down there, especially after beating Notre Dame earlier this year, right? But the ACC is bad, and I mean, Miami's lost 2 bad games in a row, right? Like, these are games you shouldn't lose if you're Miami, and I think they haven't shown the high level of play that we saw from them earlier in the year. We're starting to see Carson Beck kind of be the guy he was at Georgia, which is turnover Beck. Like, it felt that feels like a mean nickname to throw on somebody, but he puts the ball in danger too much, and for whatever reason, Mario Cristobal is just a conservative coach, and they don't seem to close games as often as they need to. And I think that's justified to have them back there. Like, I think I would probably pick Miami straight up to beat like a Virginia or maybe to beat a Vanderbilt, for example, but they have to show it, and we just haven't seen it from them recently.
SMU, baby. They got to beat Boston College this week and need a little help, but Virginia, are you buying Virginia, Hummer? I mean, Virginia, they beat Florida State. That's it.
I mean, I buy Virginia in that I think Virginia could win the ACC. I don't buy Virginia as maybe a legitimate playoff threat. I mean, I talked about BYU getting a little bit of luck. And I'm not trying to dismiss what it takes to win a close game. But if you go look at Virginia in their last 5 games, they won in double overtime. They won in overtime. They won by 2 points against Washington State in a game that would have went into overtime if not for a safety that Virginia got late. They needed overtime to beat North Carolina, and they beat Cal by 10. Like, this is a team that is winning, but it's like winning and skating by. Kind of reminds me, I don't know if y'all remember the second year of the playoff, Michigan State was kind of winning that way. They were winning a lot of one-possession games on their way to the playoff. I think if Virginia got to the playoff, they would be an underdog, surely. But you also have to commend the way they turned around that team. Like, this was a team that won, I think, 5 games last year. They went all in on the portal. And I think they're an example of the rev share era and money really making a difference for some of these mid-tier programs. Tony Elliott's done a great job. I just don't know if I buy them as a legit, like, national title, like, multi-round playoff team.
Yeah. Hummer, Oklahoma going to Neyland Stadium and beating Tennessee is a huge win for Brent Venables and his ball club. What'd you think of that game?
Huge win for them, yeah. Like, absolutely. Like, Brent Venables is like one of those guys that I kind of had my eye on as like a potential hot seat guy if things went the wrong way the last stretch of the season, because they still have to play Alabama, Missouri, and LSU. But I mean, if you look at the schedule, like, Oklahoma should get to 9 with who it has left, and that puts you in position to build for next year. I do still have some major concerns about Oklahoma. That offense isn't functioning the way it really should. I think they were outgained by 100 yards by Tennessee, but that defense is really good, and they created enough turnovers to win that game. And what this does is, like, it gives Brent Venables another offseason, and it gives Ben Arbuckle another offseason to build that offense the way it needs to be and be ready for SEC play next year. Because Oklahoma should be a lot better next year, and what'll be a very critical year for Brent Venables.
Hummer, Georgia going to Mississippi State. Trap game, because Mississippi State is a team that, their record is bad. You see any way this game is a fourth quarter game?
Maybe. I mean, Georgia started slow every week. I was talking about winning close with BYU and Virginia, but if you go look at Georgia, they won by 1 possession against Florida, 1 possession against Ole Miss, 10 points against Auburn, lost by 3 points against Alabama, won in overtime against Tennessee, Like, this is a Georgia team that's like brought it down to the wire almost every week. So Mississippi State absolutely has a chance. I trust Georgia to go in that environment and take care of business. I picked them to cover. I don't know if Mississippi State's quite good enough up front to disrupt Georgia the way that you need to offensively. And Georgia secondary does give me some hesitation against that Mississippi State offense, but I just think Georgia's a little bit better.
Yeah. What parts of Georgia do you like? What parts of Georgia do you not like as Texas prepares to go to Athens?
I like most of what they do offensively. Gunnar Stockton is not an elite talent, but he creates yardage when he needs to. That offensive line is a lot better than it was early in the year. What I don't like about Georgia is they don't generate pressure. I'm sure Texas fans will jump onto this stat. I think Texas is first nationally in sacks, and Georgia, I think, is Georgia's 132nd nationally in sacks.
132nd.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So
yeah, they have 8 sacks in 8 games, right?
Yes. Yeah. 1 sack a game. They don't create tackles for loss. Part of that's because Georgia doesn't blitz a lot. They trust their front to get home, but that front isn't getting home the way it used to. And I think that puts a lot of strain on a secondary that's been good, but not great. And we've seen against really good passing offenses that secondary struggle. You saw it against Tennessee. You saw it against Ole Miss. So that's a gettable game for Texas. But as we saw last year, like, Georgia didn't have a pass rush last year until it played Texas. And then it had seven sacks, and Quinn Ewers was running to his life and got benched for a couple series. So with a team as talented as Georgia, you never know, but that's a gettable defense this year in a way it hasn't been in years past.
How much do you believe in their offensive line and their run game?
The offensive line has been better. So I do trust Georgia there. It's easy to say that when you're not going against Colin Simmons and Trey Moore and Anthony Hill coming downhill occasionally. Like, that group has had a lot of success recently, but like, that is a good Georgia offensive line, and the run game has been there. Part of that is Gunnar Stockton. Like, they run Gunnar Stockton a lot. It's not the most efficient down-to-down rushing attack, but when you factor in Gunnar Stockton and you factor in a lot of their short passing game, like, Georgia, more than any team in the country, really like relies on screens and like motions to create the run game through the pass. It's really difficult. I mean, we saw what Ryan Wingo did on Saturday on the first play of the game. Like, Georgia throws a lot of those passes to guys like Dylan Bell and Zachariah Branch, who create yards after catch with relative ease. They have good blockers on the outside at receiver, although they miss Colby Young. So it's an okay run game, but it's offset a lot of the times by their ability to pass to run, and also Gunnar Stockton's ability to run with his own legs.
Yeah. Are you completely buying in Memphis as being that one G5 team that gets in the CFP Hummer?
No, I have no idea who's going to be the. I mean, I was at North Texas today. I was there for something I'm working on, and I was talking to a couple people there, and there's a 6-way tie atop the American, and I have no idea like how that's going to be unknotted. I think Memphis is in the pole position thanks to their win over UNT, but like, all of these teams could lose down the stretch. Like, the top of the American is very tight, and I would probably pick Memphis right now, but they have Tulane this week. They could easily lose to Tulane. They have East Carolina and Navy down the stretch too. Those are like 3 of the best teams in the league. Like, so I don't know if Memphis gets through that stretch unbeaten. Like, I don't know who's going to be that team. And in some ways, given how knotted up it is, I really wonder if like a James Madison comes out late and starts to generate a little momentum there, like a San Diego State, teams that have played really well but don't have as many bumps in the road on their schedule as the teams in the American do.
Hummer, Notre Dame is playing Navy. Notre Dame is favored by 26.5. Are they 26.5 points better than Navy?
Well, Navy's defense isn't very good. So I think that's where the line comes from. North Texas put it on them this past weekend. And I picked Navy to cover, but that's because of pace. But what that's going to require is Navy to have a couple long drives and actually convert. If Navy can score a touchdown or two, I think they cover that line. But but I think it's going to be difficult for Navy to keep up in that game if Notre Dame plays to its ability. Notre Dame is a very good run defense, and they should be able to slow Navy down. But you know how it goes against the service academy. If you have a couple 3-and-outs and they get to sit on the ball, it could be a much closer game than people think late.
Yeah. Hummer, what about LSU going to Tuscaloosa? Do you think that the Tigers cover the 10.5?
I picked them too, but like we've seen a lot of teams respond well with their interim coaches this year, I will say. Like that's been a common theme. I don't know if there's a magic solution for what ails LSU, to be honest, but they're going to be healthy. And like, this is a game they're going to get up for against Alabama. I think the talent between Alabama and LSU is not a 10-point difference. And I went with LSU to cover, but it just really depends on how LSU responds and how LSU's offensive line. We talk about offensive lines a lot, I feel like, around here. And it really will come down to how LSU's offensive line holds up against an Alabama pass rush that has been good this year, but not great.
Who do you have winning the ACC?
Oh, that's a great question. I might have to go with your ponies, Chip, to be honest.
What? What? Don't tell him that, Hummer.
They get Louisville in Dallas.
Yeah. If you're asking me which of those, like, got some dogs next door while I'm outside. If you're asking me which of those like one-loss ACC teams I trust the most, I'm going to point at SMU and I'm going to point at probably Georgia Tech. I think the rest of them have to prove it to me. And SMU is a team, like, as you said, Chip, they get one of the biggest games at home. They've been in that position before. Rat Lashley is 12-1 at SMU in November as a head coach. Like, they're a program that's proven they can win down the stretch. I think we would look at SMU a lot differently had they not lost to Wake Forest. Like, it was a bad loss, but like, I think that's a team that I trust to get it done down the stretch. And their two road games are Boston College and Cal. Those are very winnable. So if you take care of business against Louisville, like, SMU's probably going to end up in the ACC championship game.
SMU, Georgia Tech, that would be good.
You know, Hummer, it kind of sounds like an oxymoron when you say, is this the worst Heisman race ever? But you look at the guys that are up for it and you see their stats compared to other guys in years past that have hoisted that trophy, and there's huge gaps there. But right now, Julian Sand, Fernando Mendoza, Marcel Reed, who's your Heisman right now? And who do you see having the best November to where they could take the lead and possibly hoist that trophy?
Yeah, it's definitely not the most appealing Heisman race we've ever had, but it is interesting because I think there are a number of players with legitimate argument to be in the mix. I've got Julian Sand right now. That kind of feels weird to me because he hasn't had to do a whole lot of the time, but what he is doing is he's completing 80% of his passes, and that would be an NCAA record by a pretty significant margin. It's hard to do much better than that as a quarterback. I won't pretend to be the best passer of the football, but I think most people, like, if you put them on air, like, wouldn't complete 8 out of 10 passes to a receiver standing 10 yards away. And to do that with actual live bullets flying at you is really difficult. So I lean towards Julian Sand, but I think Fernando Mendoza certainly has a really strong argument. Marcel Reed has an argument, although I did hear a stat the other day that I think Marcel Reed is actually averaging more yards per attempt on passes behind the line of scrimmage than he is on passes from 10 to 20 yards. Because like his receivers create that much yardage after the catch on some of those screens that we talked about. So it's an interesting year. I could see like a Jeremiah Love getting in there. I heard, I think it was Kirk Herbstreit mentioned this the other day, and like, it's a good point. Like, Jacob Rodriguez at Texas Tech leads the country in forced fumbles. It's part of like a top 5 Texas Tech defense. Like, maybe this is the type of year a defensive player starts to get in the mix, but it's probably going to go to a quarterback. And right now, I think Julian Sand is the guy I would pick.
Okay, interesting. More so than Fernando Mendoza.
I don't know why. It's probably not fair. I can't get that pick he had against Oregon out of my head, like in the fourth quarter. And I know that's just one bad throw, and it probably shouldn't define a season. He's been really good. But the good news is if it comes down to Fernando Mendoza and Julian Sand, they'll get to play that out on the field because they're going to be playing in Indianapolis the last and Conference Championship week.
Yeah. Hummer, great stuff, man. We love it. We look forward to it. Let's do it again next week.
Absolutely, guys. Sound good.
Appreciate you, Hummer.
All right, later.
Hole-in-one Hummer. All kinds of great stuff today.
Real good, man.
From the Hummermeister. Oh, yeah, man. Oh, I'm so hoping for SMU Georgia Tech in the ACC championship game. Come on.
And the light on your face that lit up when Hummer said SMU, man. Priceless. Good for you. I want you to be happy, but wow, that conference is so whack.
Oh,
God,
that loss that SMU had at Wake Forest was so bad. Like, Wake Forest tried to give them the game, and SMU said, "No, you take it." I mean, it was awful.
I'm glad the committee, that's one thing I appreciate the committee did. The committee told us last night, F the ACC. Screw the ACC. Y'all are getting one team in. To be honest, we don't really want that, but we have to. And like, then you look at Texas. If Texas doesn't get in, and then you see that one lone ACC team in there, whether it's your ponies or not, that one's going to hurt. It really is. But I get the rules. The rules are what they are. And, a lot of people right now with, the rankings coming out last night, a lot of Texas fans are hating on the fact that Texas has played a difficult schedule, non-conference schedule, going to Columbus and playing Ohio State. I feel like the committee took that into consideration a little bit. Like, I really do. Like, I see that from Oklahoma with them beating Tennessee, like that, just a tough schedule there, having Oklahoma where they're at. Like, I think they are going to look at teams that have lost on the road in that type of environment against another high quality team. I think they really took that into consideration. And I think they look at A&M, even though some people think A&M should be in front of Ohio State and Indiana, but you think about Notre Dame and them losing to A&M, they still value A&M very high, and the rest of the SEC. That's why you see 9 SEC teams in the top 25. So that we got to see how this plays out, but I'm good with Texas being that number 11. Like
I'm good with it. I think Notre Dame should be behind Texas. I don't get it. Notre Dame has beaten absolutely nobody. They've beaten USC. That's it. And great close losses to A&M and Miami. They're losses. I mean,
yeah,
Texas
had
a one possession loss at Ohio State, the number 1 team in the country. I mean,
but they lost to Florida. Florida's trash. Like, I'm sorry, Florida's just trash, man.
Yeah, and that's the one that's gonna, that's the one you could have played.
And then Miami beating Florida. There's like, that doesn't help. That doesn't help because they clearly look at Miami as trash too.
Yeah, but Texas has 2 top 10 wins. Notre Dame doesn't have anything close to that. So
that's true.
That's the part I don't get. It's like, okay, let's reward the wins. And, I can make an argument Texas Tech should be higher than Ole Miss. I mean, Texas Tech, the only game they lost, they didn't have their quarterback. And they've been putting it on people. They beat the crap out of Utah. They beat the crap out of, pretty much everybody else on their schedule. And Ole Miss, squeaked out a win over LSU. At the time, that looked really good. They lost to Georgia. They beat OU in Norman. That's a good win. But I don't know. I mean, it'll sort itself out. I get it. And I said Texas needed to be in the top 12, and they are. So Texas controls their destiny, and they see Texas as a a valued 2-loss team. I just think they should be higher than Notre Dame, but
Yeah, I do too.
what are you going to
I
do?
stand Notre Dame. I
Yeah.
can't stand these fools, man. This damn independent. Like, we're banking on Pitt later on. I think they got Pitt, Notre Dame.
Yeah, it's like now it's all can Pitt or Navy. I mean, I don't see it happening, but yeah. All right. Let's get a couple mentions in here and we'll get to the commentary, to the chip shot, to the right call. And y'all know I am all about Humann. I mean, here's the thing. I have tried every supplement. I am a guy who's trying to do right by my body, get my physical, get my colonoscopy, get everything checked. I've got my sleep apnea checked. And I cannot tell you enough about the Humann products. And Humann, you probably know about them because they're they partnered with Texas because their research-based ingredients started at the University of Texas Health Science Center. And look, the Super Beats Heart Chews, clinically studied ingredients shown to promote healthy blood pressure nearly 2 times more effectively than just diet and exercise alone, because of their unique grapeseed extract. They taste great and you're going to feel it. That's the key for me, is that when I lock onto a supplement, I need it to make me feel better. I need the brain fog to go away. And that's what Humann has done for me. And I'm all over it. I mean, I'm on the Glynocalyx, which I love. I call it their multivitamin. I probably shouldn't call it that because it's better than that. And they're, the Super Beats and the beet powder. I take the Super Beats powder. Took it today because I'm playing tennis tonight, and everything feels better. The turmeric chews for anti-inflammation. Here's the deal. You go to humanwith2ns.com/TSU, use the code TSU, and you're going to get an extra 20% off your first order. So load up. I mean, I would get the Super Beats Heart Chews, the turmeric chews, the Glynocalyx, the Super Beats powder. And the Super Beats powder is what the University of Texas athletes all take. So that way you get the best results. And then, there's a 90-day money back guarantee. So you risk nothing. How about that? Just go to humanwith2ns.com/TSU, use the promo code TSU, and get an extra 20% off your first order. And I mentioned getting my sleep apnea checked. That's important. And we've got the best place to go in Austin, Texas for getting your sleep apnea checked, the Sleep Cycle Center. Dr. Chad Denman, who's dedicated his life to treating sleep apnea because it killed his own father at the age of 60. And look, he's got the best technology to, measure your level of sleep apnea, the best treatment options, including oral appliances like I have, mouth guard that holds my lower jaw open when I sleep, so I get that deep sleep, get that oxygen that I need. Sleep apnea is no joke. It killed Jerry Garcia, the lead singer of the Grateful Dead, Reggie White, the Pro Bowl, defensive end. Guys, if you're waking up a lot in the night, you're tired, you need to take advantage of this incredible partnership. Just go to sleepcyclecenters.com and tell them Texas Sports Unfiltered sent you. They're going to take $100 off your sleep study. And that's how you find out your level of sleep apnea. So take advantage of it. Take care of yourself. Do it for the person you sleep next to. They will greatly appreciate it. Sleepcyclecenters.com. Tell them Texas Sports Unfiltered sent you. And hey, Cover 3. I was at Cover 3 today. Had the blackened chicken and shrimp pasta. Amazing. I mean, the food at Cover 3 is so good. It's the menu try everything on the menu because it's all good. The service, Chris, our server, was so on top of everything. Look, you got all night happy hour on Mondays at Cover 3, and you've got happy hour every day from 3:30 to 6:30. You got the $7 social hour menu. You can get the firecracker shrimp for $7. I mean, just it should be your hangout. It's my hangout. Cover 3 Anderson, Cover 3 Round Rock. Oh, and by the way, you can watch your favorite teams while you're enjoying high-end food without the high-end prices. And hey, when you're ready for the big screen of your dreams, our man Tom McKay at Audiovisual Consultations is the answer. He's the Allen Iverson of audiovisual needs. He's going to bring you the best price on big screens. And look, he's got you covered on surround sound. He can put together a media room for you. You deserve it. If you don't have a big screen big enough to make you feel like you're on the sideline at the game, you deserve that. Just call 255-8678, 255-8678, or go to avconsultations.com. All right, Zay. For the chip shot today, I'll touch on a couple things. Obviously, the basketball game last night. I thought it was I thought there were positives for sure. I thought I can work with Matas Vokatitis. I can tone him down, I think. Same with Lucina Traore. You know, he's super active, he's super twitchy. Probably was playing a little too fast at times. Both Matas and Lucina Traore had turnover issues. I think they combined for 8 of Texas's 16
Damn.
turnovers.
As bigs?
Yeah, Traore had 4 turnovers and Vokatitis had 5.
Oh, man.
So I think we can get that under control. But I feel better about Texas's interior front court game than I did about last year's front court. I mean, by a mile. So I feel better about that. I feel really good about Dalen Swain. That guy looks like an all-conference type player. I don't think he played, out of his mind, but he can do a lot of different things. He can get to the rack. He can shoot it. He's long. He's good. He's a player. The rest, I thought, the guards, I thought they were going to be deep, and they got to figure out the roles for sure. And, I've been talking up Camden Heide all off season. I mean, I thought he was next at Purdue, and Texas made a good offer to him and said, hey, come on down. And we got nothing. I didn't see enough of him to even make any kind of comment. I feel like I didn't see him. So
He just
That's all. I'll wait to see what the plan is for Camden Heide, because I'm hoping he's just like a high IQ player who's going to be in the right place at the right time, set screens when he's supposed to set screens, go box out when he's supposed to box out. I get it. He's not the fastest guy or the longest guy, but that doesn't stop a bunch of people from being really good basketball players if they can, execute their job really well. So I didn't feel like I got to see anything from him. And then, the guard play, Jordan Pope, like I said, he drives me crazy because he can shoot you into a game and he can shoot you out of a game. And he was 3 of 10, but he hit, 3 of 4 from 3, and he hit them all like right in a row. And then, 6 of 7 from the line. So he ends up with 15 points, but 1 assist. I mean, Texas only had 6 assists in the game.
not good.
That's not good at all. Like, how are we setting things up? How are we, moving the basketball? We've seen a lot of one-on-one basketball at Texas the last 3 years, and I get it. It was Duke, so I'm not gonna come crashing down on the backcourt after one game, but I do like the front court. I do like Dalen Swain, and then we got to figure out what's going on with the backcourt and where does Camden Heide fit in. One game, but some positives in the front court. As far as the college football playoff rankings, Texas, you're right where you need to be. You get to play Georgia, who's at number 5 in the rankings, and that is the biggest game of the season for sure. And I think every Texas fan out there feels a little better about going to Georgia than they did. Because of how the offensive line performed against Vanderbilt. It's got to get better from here. It's got to keep going up. The running game has to be better. Steve Sarkisian has to get these guys to believe that they can run the football against Georgia, and then, figure out real quick what coaches are. The coaches who solve problems the fastest are the best coaches. Okay, figure out what you can do well with this newfangled offensive line, and then go execute it, because you got an opportunity here. You looked like hot garbage against Florida, against Kentucky, against Mississippi State, and then you looked like a football team against Vanderbilt. And it's not too late. That's the amazing thing. I mean, now you look back and say, why the hell weren't you playing Cole Hudson and Connor Robertson against Florida, a team that was devouring, Nick Brooks and that left guard position. And now, you've got that blemish. You're going to have to live with it. And, we'll see if you can recover, because Arch Manning's playing a lot better football. And the playoff rankings, you're good to go. You got to handle your business, and you get A&M at your place and Arkansas at your place. So you get the fans to help you in those situations. But yeah, I think you look at those 2 events last night and take some positives from both. And, I don't know about moral victories, because Duke was by far the better team in the second half, but I like the intensity on defense, and
throw elbows. I'm okay with a couple elbows being thrown. I'm okay with a couple of offensive fouls from your big man, because they're trying to be tough. They're trying to set the tone that we ain't BSing around in here. It's going to be a physical game. It's just, you got to clean it up a little bit. You got to be smart along with the physicality, because, man, a combination of 9 turnovers from your sitters, hell no. Like, they don't touch the ball enough to be turning it over like that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, a lot of positives, some negatives. We'll see how the rest of the season goes.
All right, let's get to the right call.
Let's get it. Let's go. Before that, though, got to give a shout out to Covert Bee Cave. A lot of y'all driving around in these hoopties, these buckets, these cars that should have been in the pound a long time ago. They should have been done, but you keep putting money into it. I get it. It was your baby, but sometimes you could get a new baby. Sometimes out with the old, in with the new. Y'all have heard that saying. Or it could be pre-owned, which is still new at Covert Bee Cave, because the pre-owned vehicles are that nice. Go check them out, covertbcave.com, and you'll see, Zay's right here. 7 terrific brands to choose from: Buick, GMC, Ram, Jeep, Dodge, Chrysler, and Cadillac. And I know because I've experienced it myself. Wife and I got a Covert Bee Cave car, Buick Encore GX. We absolutely love it. It's absolutely just amazing. I mean, we couldn't have found a better car that fits are family, and y'all could be like us too. So shout out to the team at Covert BK. Nobody beats a covert deal. Not now, not ever. All right, Shep. Well, you know me. Usually I know about the gossip and petty going around the sports world, the celebrity world, and I didn't even know all this. But we know that Stefon Diggs is expecting a baby with rapper Cardi B. We know that. They're together. They're in a relationship. It got a little rocky before the season. You remember the Miami boat incident where Stefon's with a whole bunch of girls and he's got that weird bag of the pink powder, which he didn't get in trouble for, so whatever. But that happened. It seemed like they were going to break up. Cardi was at the Patriots game this past Sunday. She was on the field. The baby bump is out there thriving. Beautiful. Looks like a beautiful, happy family. Well, there's going to be a lot of folks in that family, or should I say a lot of kids in that family, because apparently, Chip, this fool Stefon Diggs has 3 more babies on the way. Apparently, this fool has 3 other baby mamas with the babies cooking in the oven that I guess are going to be delivered around the same time Cardi's baby is going to be delivered. So this fool Stefon Diggs might be at 4 different hospitals, which we know damn well he ain't going to 4 different hospitals, but you catch my drift here. How can this happen? I mean, we know how it happened, but really how? And how is Cardi okay with this? Because she looks happy as hell. Like she looks, the smiles on her face, again, they look like a beautiful little family. Yet, my man has 3 other babies with 3 other baby mamas. It'd be different if it was 1 baby mama and she was having triplets, but that ain't the case. We got 3 other women, 3 other children here.
And this is why the Minnesota Vikings said that Diggs is the last guy they want dating their sister.
Because he's good with women, obviously.
Too good.
Too good.
I mean, 3 babies coming out at the same time with his baby with Cardi B.
Yeah, I don't know how he did this. Like this dude, he must have
you
the magic wand. I mean, he must have the magic wand. His rap must be better than anyone's, because you always heard stories on Stefon Diggs. Like, this guy's a player. This guy's out here with like other celebrities' girls, like married women. Like Stefon Diggs is that dude that will come in and mess all that up and then move on to the next one. Like, that's the reputation that he has. And clearly he's living up to that reputation.
Now,
so,
who's reporting all this? Who's allegedly what? Who's
I mean, Google.
Google's reporting it. Okay, all right. Well, he's allegedly he has 3 other babies due at about the same time as his baby with Cardi B. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah. And he already has kids out there. Like, don't think that he doesn't already have kids out there running around right now that are youngins. But yeah,
Like,
man.
Wow.
4 dumb women or 4 smart women.
Yeah, 4 rich women.
4 rich women. You know, Cardi, she already got hers, but man, that's a lot of child support, dog. I don't know the rules in Massachusetts for them child support, but yeah, it must be hefty. All right, so this story is crazy too. So, do you remember the offensive lineman Matt Collier?
Yeah.
Okay.
Went to USC, right?
Went to USC. There we go. So Matt Collier, he's not in the league anymore. Him and his ex-wife just got a divorce. Sports Illustrated model Haley Collier. She went on a streaming interview with like a famous streamer. I don't know his name, but she talked about why they got a divorce. And apparently, my man Matt is hung like I don't know what, because she ended the marriage because it was just too much, Chip.
Where'd you read this?
Huh?
Where'd we get this? Oh, she said it?
No, she said it. Yeah, it's going around. Yeah, she said it. And then she does the old, she does that gesture. She also goes on to say it's like 2 Coke cans put together. She said she tried everything. She tried to, spread it out by doctors and get lipo type thing. She tried to make it work.
Wow.
She said homie is like the 0.00001%. And she just, it was too much. It was too much. Couldn't do it.
Wow.
Right?
How about that?
How about that? Like if you have to divorce, which, okay, always test drive the car before you buy the car, right? So,
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
You know what I mean? So like, I get people are traditional. Wait till marriage. I understand that. And I respect everybody who does. But also to avoid situations like that, even if you are one of those who's before, I'm not doing anything until marriage, at least show me what you're working with. To her defense. Because this could have been avoided a long time ago. Like, and I would say poor Matt, but obviously Matt was blessed. So I can't feel too bad for him. You know what I mean? But there's somebody out there, Matt. There's someone out there that, would love 2 Coke cans put together.
Love them 2 Coke cans.
Yeah. And she's tiny. Again, she's a Sports Illustrated model. So she, it's not like that's tough.
Right.
It's science here. So,
right.
Yeah. Ain't that nuts?
How about that?
How about that?
I mean, TMZ, that's my guy. He finds the stories.
Yeah. Up. And we got another coach going off on the media member. Today's episode is by your boy, one of your favorite coaches for all time, Bill O'Brien, that snapped on a media member because they questioned him being 1-8 for Bucky's Boston College Eagles. Check it out.
Coach, wondering, do you have a message for the fans? Obviously losing to Notre Dame Catholic school rival, 1-8 now in the season BC. I've heard from a lot of fans. They're just really
I'm really glad. I'm glad you're down. I'm not down. Nobody's down. We're fighting. We're competing. It's the second year of this program, Mike. You always come in here with these down questions. Like you show up like once a month or something like that. You come in here with these down questions. I'm not down. I don't know what year you graduated from BC, but this is a program that we're building. Okay. Nobody here's down. We're positive. We're going to show up and play our asses off against SMU. You can go out there in your dark, clouded world or whatever it is and do what you want to do. We're not down. The sun is up and we're fighting. That's my message to the fans. What's up, Trevor?
How you doing? SMU leads.
What's up, Trevor? That's my favorite part, man.
What's up, Trevor?
So We're not down. We're 1-8, but we're still positive around here.
Great. Whoever that Donald Downer was, he's getting them all riled up for SMU.
Oh, you don't like that?
I mean, can't you just leave sleeping dogs lying? I mean, what time is that game? Oh, it's early, 11 a.m. All right. SMU at Boston College. Yeah, they can't. SMU, come on, man. You can't be doing this Wake Forest bit again. You need to get after these Boston College Eagles. I mean, if it's going to be SMU and Georgia Tech for the ACC championship, I need them to get it together from here on out. Oh, man.
Yo, Souls, you know some ladies that can work with him? Where you find them ladies, bro? Because them ladies.
Sadly, I'm but one Coke can. Oh, man.
Shout out to Matt Khalil, man.
Shout out to Matt Khalil. We're going to have Coke can jokes on this show now from now until the end of time.
Let's bring in Patrick.
Hey.
And Patrick, man.
Hey. Who would have thought that Bill O'Brien would lead a team to a terrible record as head coach?
Who would have thought?
OLIPOP to Matt Khalil.
Terrible.
Two OLIPOPs. What do you mean?
I need two of them.
You need two of them.
Yeah. Bill O'Brien. Shockingly, Bill O'Brien has a bad attitude and isn't winning. Shockingly. And you know what the worst part is? He's the best coach in the Bill Belichick coaching tree.
Jeez.
The best one.
That's probably true.
Yeah, it's not Eric Mangini, who destroyed Colt McCoy's time in Cleveland.
No.
That guy.
It's not what, 0-16 Matt Patricia?
Or
really? He destroys the Lions and then he becomes like the best defensive coordinator in college football.
Again, I said this yesterday, Chip. You know how Jim Knowles isn't great at Penn State? You think it may be the players and the other coaches that are kind of helping this out a little bit? Maybe he's getting an advantage. Maybe it's not just him stepping in and being great or Jim Knowles being great, that the program and the players may have something to do with it. And Matt Patricia, please take the Auburn job. It would be hilarious.
Ooh.
It certainly helps.
So happy.
It certainly helps to have Caleb Downs on your defense.
Yes. Just like PK is going to miss Michael Taft like crazy next year.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right,
Appreciate you, boys.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Welcome in to Open Gym here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. If I can
There we go.
There we go. We get this one going, and now we're ready to go. Welcome into Open Gym here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. Myself, Patrick Davis, alongside Matt Galatzan of Texas Longhorns on SI. And of course, you, the third member of Open Gym. Text line's open, 512-222-9328. And of course, over there on the chat, Facebook, Twitch, X, and on YouTube. Love to hear from you guys every day. Get into some good stuff today. Texas basketball talk. We'll also get into, of course, some Texas football talk, the college football polls, all the good stuff, Matt. How is your week going so far, Matt?
Well, Patrick, it was great until I saw the college football playoff rankings, and then I got angry. So.
Really? Got it that angry? We're going to start off talking about college football playoff polls. Okay. And I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on the chat, too. We're going to talk about Madden. I will state this before I say anything else on the matter. I'm fine with where Texas is because their mission is the exact same as it was before. If you win out, you're in. It's that simple. You win your next 3 games, you are in the college football playoff. There is not a doubt in my mind. There is no way you're not going to be in. You're close enough to it. If they were like 20, then you're like, okay, now we need some other guys to lose. They don't. They just need to beat Georgia and A&M, and then in Arkansas. But Georgia, Arkansas, and A&M, you can win those 3 games. You're in. You're in. You're one out. I get, but we can discuss because, man, I agree with you. There's some things I don't necessarily agree with that I think maybe they ranked not necessarily the way I would have done it. So where do you want to start with the ranking that was somewhat interesting? If you missed it, by the way, I'm sure you've heard it now. But, yeah, Texas is number 11. There was one more thing they could have done that would have made me mad, but they didn't do that. So the other things I'm more okay with because that was less deciding to me. But what was the first thing you want to start with?
Should I pull up a graphic?
Yeah, sure.
So that people can see it. Well, I'm going to start with the fact that, look, I'm generally okay with Texas being number 11. I mean, this is the seeding The bracket
This is the thing.
projection.
Maybe the first one out because they're ahead of the ACC and they're the head of group of 5. So right now, 10 is the one out. But
right. So I'm
Very
generally okay with Texas being number 11, considering the way the season started and where they are now.
Yeah.
What I'm not okay with, number 1, is Notre Dame being ahead of them, because Notre Dame has lost to the only 2 good teams that they've played, and Texas has 2 top 10 wins.
Yep.
I think that is a horrible oversight by the committee, and it blatantly disregards everything that they say they're taking into account in terms of strength of record and strength of schedule and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
That's number 1, but that's not even what I'm most mad about. And what I'm most mad about is something that people that probably listen to this show are going to be like, but they're the Aggies. Texas A&M should be number 1. And I don't think that anybody can give me an argument as to why they're not number 1, because Ohio State's only good win of the season is against Texas.
Yeah.
And it was close.
Yeah.
And it was against a team who was starting a new quarterback at their home stadium with 10 new starters on offense. And Texas had the ball with 2 minutes to go with an opportunity to tie the game. They haven't beaten anybody else. Penn State was supposed to be their big win that they had, but Oregon already broke Penn State and sent them into oblivion. So that win didn't mean anything. So that's why they shouldn't be number 1. Indiana also should not be ahead of Texas A&M, because the one good team you've played, and your good win is Oregon, and that's a really good win.
Yeah.
And I get that. It was at Autzen Stadium, and that's great. But your other only decent win on your entire schedule is Iowa. And you barely beat Iowa at Iowa. And Iowa's a pretty good team. They're ranked 20th. But I would argue very heavily that a win over Notre Dame and a win over LSU in Baton Rouge, plus all the other metrics that are supposed to go into these, things like strength of record, strength of schedule, Texas A&M is better than them in every single one of those metrics. Every single one of them. So why Ohio State is number 1? Because they started the season number 1. And that's it. That's the only thing anybody can tell me
I'll tell you the real reason why I believe they're number 1 and number 2 and Texas A&M is number 3. Because they do not think Texas A&M is going to be undefeated at the end of the season, and they think Ohio State and Indiana will, which they probably will because they don't play anybody. And I think they go, well, if we put the A&M at 1 and they lose, we look stupid ranking them above, even though they don't look stupid because they're right now the best team. And that's not quite how polls are supposed to work. But they're looking at it as we are picking the teams that we think will be the best at the end of the season and where they'll be. They don't think Notre Dame's going to lose again. They don't think that Alabama or Ohio State or Indiana is going to lose again. And right now, A&M is not favored against the Longhorns. So they're saying we think they might lose a game before the end of the season in the SEC. I agree with you. That's maybe flawed logic, and that's what's frustrating about it, is it feels like they're kind of letting themselves into, well, we know Ohio State and Indiana are going to be undefeated because they don't play anybody. And that shouldn't be the right prerequisite.
I understand that completely. I understand that completely, and I think that that's a good argument why they're sitting number 1 and number 2. But then why are Texas Tech and BYU sitting above Oregon? Because they're playing each other this weekend.
Yeah.
So one of them's going to lose.
Well, and I think that one is for fun of ratings. That one is a ratings one.
Well, yeah. The reason that I'm so upset about this is what if Texas A&M wins out and Ohio State wins out?
Yeah.
And Indiana has to play Ohio State. One of those teams is going to lose in the Big Ten championship. But if Texas A&M wins out and they're still not number 1 and they win the SEC championship, I'm going to riot. Because not only will they have beaten Alabama at that point, they will have beaten Texas, they will have beaten Missouri, which is 3 more ranked wins than they will have five ranked wins to Ohio State's 1. And if Ohio State beats Indiana, that'll be 2. So they'll have 3 more ranked wins than Ohio State. And if you don't put them number 1, then look at how different their path is on this bracket. You have to play Oregon if Oregon or Texas Tech if you're Ohio State.
Yeah.
Texas A&M would have to play Ole Miss.
No, I'm with you.
I
get that. I will say I'm with you that it's silly to me to once again overrate the Big Ten. And especially in a year where Penn State's down.
And especially in a year where you're preaching strength of record.
Yeah, when you're like, it matters, and you wanted to have the non-conference games, and you just give Indiana, who doesn't schedule non-conference games, the number 2 seed over A&M. Like, even if you wanted to put A&M 2 and Ohio State 1, I'd be more okay with that. Because as much as I think that A&M has a better resume than Ohio State right now, I know they have a much better resume than Indiana. I will still say, I know the Oregon win is nice. I get the Oregon's win's nice. They did not play anybody non-conference. And that, to me, is a cardinal sin that should dock you a lot of points. The fact that you are too much of a wimp, that you just want to play soft and win 10 games and get in, should automatically, in the person's mind, go, they have half a loss. They have half a loss because they're too much of wimps to go play a real schedule. And if you don't want to play a real schedule, then you shouldn't be allowed to be like, I hate it. I hate it. Not playing.
And I totally agree with you.
Not trying to get out of playing a decent team non-conference. Now, I get sometimes you schedule a decent team and then they're not decent when you play them. That happens. I'm not mad at you. Like Oklahoma scheduling Michigan, and Michigan wasn't that great this year. I'm not going to fault them for that because they scheduled the same. We scheduled Michigan. We were expecting them to be better when we played them last year. So I'm not faulting them for that. But for Indiana pulling out of games to say we don't want to play anybody tough. We want it. We want the most cupcake schedule possible while having a brash, arrogant coach. You crazy.
See that number 11 team right there? They were supposed to be on Indiana's schedule, and Indiana pulled out.
Yeah.
If Indiana had played that game and won that game, I would have no arguments with this.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I do believe
they played Indiana State or whatever instead.
I can deal with Ohio State because Ohio State once again played Texas. They won against Texas. They've been dominant in what they've done. I eye test wise, they look like the best team in college football right now. I get A&M looks really, really good too. Metrics would tell you that A&M is probably the better team, but I'm fine with them 1A and 1B. And then we know Ohio State's probably going to lose at Michigan anyway. But you like, I'd be more okay with that. I don't like Indiana being number 2. I just don't feel like I a SEC. I will always be this. I'll be the SEC homer to say that I think playing through an SEC schedule, even if LSU is not as good as they were, like I take that to LSU still a better team than Penn State. I think that's a given in this one. But yeah, you put it through there. Notre Dame being 10 above Texas. So first of all, a lot of people think that Oklahoma should have been above Texas, which I think is crazy. And again, it's head to head, but then you roll into that head to head argument of who gets ahead of who in that world. I do think that Texas should have been because they beat them soundly. And that, to me, if you're right next to each other and you're like, who's 10, who's 11, you're like, well, the team who beat them is better because they proved that they're the better team when they met on the field.
Yeah,
so
Texas
to me,
has more top 10 wins.
I agree. I'm just saying, I think that one, I was worried about that one. I was worried that they were going to say, well, John Mateer and all the hype about Mateer was going to overshadow, and they were going to look past the faults of Oklahoma, and then, look at Texas and go, well, they played too many close games and they lost to Florida, so they're not a good team because they played close with other teams. I thought that could have been the case. Notre Dame is, they played some hard games early, lost them, and then have since been good against not really great teams. And it like I'll get them. They scheduled people. I give them more credit than Indiana, but at the same part, I do think they should be behind Texas and Texas A&M. I believe I think that goes into a couple things. I think that Notre Dame, they think will not lose another game this season. I think Notre Dame is somewhat of a favored nation for the college football playoff, as much as nobody wants to admit these things. Big tier schools are going to get in before smaller schools almost all the time. It is what it is. These are not just people you're not getting purists in there. You're getting businessmen and businesswomen who are deciding this. So they're going to they're going to be elitist at a certain point. And Notre Dame gets benefit of the doubt on that. I know not really much over Texas, but that could be debatable. But I think they think, again, Texas will either lose to Georgia and be a 3-loss team, or lose to A&M, be a 3-loss team and not get in, or they will beat A&M and Georgia and be a 2-loss team and get in. So it doesn't really matter where you put them. If you put them right in that range, you don't have to. Notre Dame, on the other hand, you kind of got to boost up a little bit if you want them in the final rankings, because they don't play anybody. They don't have any more big games. They don't play in a conference championship. There's nothing else to boost their resume the rest of the year. They're more looking for other people to get knocked out right now. They're looking for Texas to come in and destroy number 5 Georgia. They're looking for Texas to come in. And I mean, I don't think a 1-loss A&M team, you still keep them in the playoffs no matter, they only have 1 loss at the end of the season. You keep them in. But they're hoping for some more losses. They're hoping that the BYU Texas Tech game is really one-sided so that I can push them out, because they're not far away from getting pushed out themselves.
Well, okay. I agree with that. I personally hate the idea of favoritism towards big schools, because that's the entire reason that the college football playoff came into existence in the first place, was so that everybody had a chance, especially this 12-team layout with the group of 5 and everybody having a bid or whatever. And it doesn't make any sense to me that a team like Notre Dame, who has one decent win and doesn't play anybody else, the only 2 other good teams they played, they lost both of those games, is in ahead of a team who has a 1-score loss to the number 1 team in the country, and then 1 other loss, and 2 top 10 wins, which both wins are better than any win that Notre Dame has this season. And the reason that I'm so upset about this, and why it doesn't, technically it doesn't matter right now, because yes, if Texas beats both Georgia and Texas A&M and also beats Arkansas, of course, they're going to be in the playoff. It would be impossible to keep them out, and that's fine. But odds are they're probably not going to win both of those games. So then you come down to an argument of 10-2 Notre Dame versus 9-3 Texas. I still think that Texas should get in over Notre Dame in that scenario, because of the strength of record, because of the if that comes to fruition and they end up 9-3, you have 3 wins against top 10 teams. That should get you in, but there's going to be the conversation of, well, would we rather have Notre Dame in there, or would we rather have Texas in there? Notre Dame only has 2 losses, and they're 2 really good teams who are both ranked in the playoff. That's the kind of thing that I'm concerned about more so than the initial rankings, because it sets the precedent that Notre Dame is already ahead of Texas right now, all things even.
No, I get that. I get the concept.
And if Texas doesn't win out, even though they still would have a better resume than Notre Dame might get in ahead of them. And I think that would be ridiculous, because I think if those 2 teams played on a neutral field right now, Texas would smoke them by 21.
I agree. And this is I'm with you. I'm with you on that, of putting things as they are. And I agree that Texas should be number 10. I try not to look at it with Homer glasses, but I'm going to. So I believe Texas should be number 10. I do think it would be very funny to put Notre Dame in the position of, if they had just joined the ACC, they'd be in. But since they didn't, they're out. I think that would be very funny. If they were ranked above any ACC team, but also didn't make the playoffs, that's a funny, just well, you should have been in the conference. If you were in, you would have won the ACC.
Yeah.
And then you'd be in. So I'm with you. It does. You do wish you could have more of an explanation on some of these ones. I know you watched the show last night, and they were like, well, these are tough decisions, but we're like, it was so much eye test, which a lot of this is eye test, which, for Texas is probably the worst thing possible right now, because it depends which eye test you're giving them. How many times we're talking about players getting scouted, right, Matt, during before the NFL draft? How many times we talk about the eye test of the wrong eye test, where you're like, what film are you watching? You found 12 plays out of 200 that would have been good, and you found the 12 that were not as good, and now you're saying that Kelvin Banks won't be a good left tackle. This feels like if you watched Kentucky, if you watched the first half of Mississippi State, if you watched Florida, if you you watch Ohio State game, your eye test of Texas is they're not a great team. If you watch the first 3 quarters against Vanderbilt, if you watch the Oklahoma game, You're like, Texas is a real team. So
Or if you watch the second half against Ohio State.
But I don't think even the second half against Ohio State they weren't, because they were still letting them run. Like it was a good game, but I don't think that was what a Texas team that you thought looked. I don't think Ohio State looked great in it either. I don't think either team looked great in that matchup. But I think like there was a games where Texas was playing really good, where we saw the run game working, the passing game working. Arch was playing well. The O-line was starting to block for you. The defense was starting to get some sacks. You started to see those pieces come together, and I think that is the Texas. That's the eye test you want to get. So it is worrisome, because when you're talking about the eye test, where does Texas fall in the seeds if they went out? You know, if they went out in a close game at Georgia and a close game at A&M and a close game at Arkansas, and they're all close, and you know you don't really get there, is a 2-loss Texas team climbing above a 1-loss A&M team, even though they have the head-to-head and it went over number 5 Georgia? Or does Georgia completely drop out and they go, Georgia was overrated this year? Same thing with Vanderbilt. Ain't overrated this year. No, they're overrated.
Well, I mean, maybe. Here's the good thing for Texas, even with Notre Dame in there. Texas Tech and BYU play each other this weekend. One of those teams is not going to be in the top 12 next week. You kind of don't really know who to cheer for in that scenario. I mean, probably Texas Tech, you would want to lose because they already have the one loss. But then if you look at BYU, if they lose that game, they also have to play TCU. They also have another tough game on their schedule. The Big 12 could get 2 teams in, which at the beginning of this season I thought would have been ridiculous. But they could get 2 teams in, and that is somehow going to force the SEC not to get, if that somehow forces the SEC not to get 5 teams in, it would be ridiculous. Because 5 SEC teams deserve to be in this bracket. And you can't sit here and tell me that Texas and who's the lowest ranked SEC team? Ole Miss. You can't tell me that Texas and Ole Miss are not better football teams than Notre Dame, than BYU, than Texas Tech, than Utah, who's number 13 right now. Like, I get that you have to have Virginia in there and you have to have Memphis in there because those are automatic bids.
Yeah.
But like putting Texas into the position where they have to, where Notre Dame is ahead of them and could very well get in ahead of them just because they're Notre Dame, even if Texas has the better resume, because you've already set the precedent that Notre Dame has a better resume than Texas, even though Texas, by every metric, has a better resume than Notre Dame. You're basically telling people, well, they haven't lost since the first 2 weeks of the season, so we think they're really good. Well, Texas hasn't lost since September.
No, I this is my basic take on it, and I get this is probably not going to be the most popular Longhorn fans. If the Longhorns lose another game, they're out this year. It just sucks, but you can't be a 3-loss team and get in the playoff. There should be no 3-loss teams in the playoffs. And I would put a Big 12 team or an ACC team in before. And I get you didn't play as hard of a schedule. I get that's the way. You cannot lose 3 games in college football and still be in the playoff. It just degrades the value of the entire regular season. It just does to me. I know it sucks that way because you played Ohio State and the Florida loss sucks in there. But if you lose to Georgia and you went, well, we could have lost to Georgia and Ohio State and we'd be in the playoff right now. But we screwed up and lost to Florida. And for 30 years of my life, 35 years of my life, the Florida loss would have ended the season. So I'm fine with it being an old man to sit here and say a 3-loss Texas team does not deserve to get in, because I don't believe 3-loss teams should get in. I get it's tough. Right now, there's 7 teams with 2 losses or less in the SEC. So when we go back to the 5, at the end of the year, if there's still 5 2-loss teams in the SEC, I will tell you the worst 2-loss team in the SEC is better than any other 2-loss team in the country. Or at least whoever's going to be creeping in that back door. So I will say that is if Texas with 2 losses, if any of these teams, if Vanderbilt has 2 losses at the end of the year, they beat Tennessee, I'm fine with Vanderbilt getting in. But I will say I personally and not a fan of 3-loss teams getting in. I get it, and we'll have this conversation if they lose to A&M at the end of the season and they beat Georgia, and now you go, well, they have 3 big wins, and they lost to the number 1, 2, 3 team in the country. They lost to number 1 and number 3 are 2 of those losses. I get the argument. I think a lot of other chaos has to happen for that to make sense, that you have to have basically no other qualifying 2-win teams. No one who's got any top 10 wins on their resume or anything else. But wins and losses at a certain point have to matter more than a lot of other things, because that is the best part about college football, is that losses do matter. That's why every game is so important. That's what's the one real big factor better than the NFL, is that you walk out of an NFL loss and you go, and you walk out of a college football loss devastated, because it could be the end of the season. And I think once we start to lose that with these 16-team playoffs, when they go to that, or 30, it's just going to make the rest of the season not as fun for me.
Yeah, I totally get that argument, and I kind of agree to a certain extent. Here's what I'll say, though. I think if Texas ends up 9-3 with a win over, let's say they lose to Georgia and then they beat Texas A&M.
Yeah.
I understand the sentiment that 3-loss teams shouldn't be in the playoff because winning games should matter. But if Texas has wins over Oklahoma, a top 10 Oklahoma, a top 10 Vanderbilt, and a number 3 Texas A&M on their resume, and their only losses are to number 1 Ohio State, number 5 Georgia, and then Florida, who I think is better than people think they are, but that's another.
They are bad. They're not a bad team. They have a ton of talent, but you shouldn't have lost the game.
Well, yes, I think that it would be absolutely ridiculous to keep Texas out of the playoff at that point if the other contenders are a Big Ten team who didn't play anybody, or a 2-loss Miami who plays in the ACC, or one of these other teams who doesn't have anywhere near the resume that Texas has, which is why, I heard Joel Klatt talking earlier today about this format that has been discussed within college football that I guess they haven't made it public. I don't know, about switching to a point system where that encourages you to schedule good teams. And if you lose on the road in your season opener to Ohio State, it doesn't affect, you don't lose points. But if you beat a team, you get a certain amount of points. That kind of makes sense to me in a certain way, because it makes no sense that a team that with a top 10 strength of schedule, who 2 of their 3 losses are to top 5 teams, shouldn't get in the playoff over, I don't know, Notre Dame, because Notre Dame hadn't beaten anybody.
No, and I agree. I'll put it this way. I think if Texas beats Georgia, Texas beats Arkansas, and loses to A&M, who remains undefeated, and Ohio State remains undefeated, these are 2 undefeated teams. 2 of your 3 losses are to undefeated teams. It's hard to say, well, that Florida loss was so bad that you guys are so much worse than all these other teams who have lost 2 games to whoever. And you maybe don't have the wins that Texas has. That is a very difficult conversation to have when you're you lost to teams that no one beat. But on the flip of that, to me personally, well, you ain't going to beat them then either. They're just better than you. So I'm 8 teams should get in. We shouldn't. I'm fine with 8. I think 12's too many. So at a certain point, I want the chance, because first of all, my job makes my job better. We Texas in the playoffs.
Hell yeah.
But as a fan, you always want another shot. You want, when you're playing a video game, you don't want to play a video game that when you die, you go back to the very beginning of the video game. And that's what college football was for years and years. You die, you start over. You got to play, you lose week 12. Who cares? You go back to week 1, man. You got to play them all over again. And so I think that there is something in trying to keep that magic. There's something.
No,
to
Joe,
be
we
said.
shouldn't go back to the BCS.
And we shouldn't go back to 2. I will say this too, Joe. You said this one as well. Texas dominated Vandy for 4 quarters with a double-digit win. I think they would. I really think if they were playing the level of football that they saw, and they see the Mississippi State come back, then they see them dominate Vandy, I think the sales pitch for Texas is easier, that they are playing elite football, and there's no recourse back on that, really. Like, they're figuring it out. Arch had his best game. We can go. I think the recourse back on that is by Big Ten people and by ACC people and Big 12 people, maybe not SEC people, who will sit there and say, yeah, but Vanderbilt came back. They weren't really, like, they almost lost that game, which is true. It's true. They did almost lose that game somehow. Now, that takes out officiating. That takes out a lot of other things. But for me, I you see, here the dog knows what I'm talking about. Oh, man. The worst. Mom calling you got to go to dinner or something, and you're like, I do not have a save point right here. And if I do not find the code that I can write down and save, I can't restart my game and double dragon at the right spot. And I'm going to have to start this whole last 2 hours of my life over again. But that's what college football was.
Yes. But also the most popular version of video games in today's world are battle royales, where you get multiple chances to live. So
I'm aware that there is a more short-term memory feeling in today's society, which the 12-team playoff is. And if Texas is a 3-loss team, you could see me here saying, well, but they're better than Notre Dame at 2-loss, and they're better than this team. And I'll probably say it. I still don't really believe they should be in, because I don't think they have much of a fighter's chance if you're not able to beat those teams. Now, if they beat A&M and they beat Georgia, well, now you've beaten you've beaten 4 of the 5 best teams you played that season. Your trouble was with bad teams. Your trouble was with teams you should have been able to beat. That was the real problem. So the playoffs are great for you. I like those teams better in the playoffs at a certain point than I do like teams who can kill bad teams and then have trouble winning against good teams. Like, that was a Penn State argument last year. Does Penn State have enough, because they're not able to really win these big games? They finally won a big one, and that's how they got in. But like, that argument of, if you're winning the big games, that's what the playoffs are. They're all top 10 matchups once you get to the playoffs.
Well, yeah. But that's also why I'm saying, if Texas is 9-3, they deserve to get in, because you won against 3 of the best 5 teams in the SEC or something, like the three of the 5 best teams you played all year. You beat 3 top 10 teams.
Wait, Matt, let me pitch you this one. What about if Texas beats Georgia, beats A&M, becomes a 3-loss team with Arkansas? They're a 3-loss team who has beaten Georgia, who has beaten A&M, beaten Oklahoma, and beaten Vanderbilt in the same season.
I think the conversation's the same. And
then you're like, they lost to Florida and Arkansas, though. Ugh.
But you also beat Georgia, Texas A&M, Oklahoma.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's going to be a crazy. And it also depends, because it depends to me what happens to Ole Miss the rest of the season. It depends what happens to Georgia the rest of the season. It depends on what happens to Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame probably wins out, but BYU and Texas Tech, do they win out of the Big 12? Are they able to come out of there? And by the way, I'll also say this. I don't count conference championships on the record. So when I say a 3-loss team shouldn't get in, Texas makes it to the SEC championship game as a 2-loss team and loses, then yes, they deserve to be in. That one I will throw out the window. That one I'm not saying. Saying if you played the regular season well enough, I don't think the conference championship should knock you out because it's your 3rd loss. So
if you make the SEC championship, you should be in the college football playoff.
Yes. So
and Joe, there's a 0% chance that if Texas beats Georgia, Texas A&M, and Arkansas, that they won't make the playoff.
There's no way, because they're 1 out right now, and they would have wins over 2 of the teams ahead of them. So there's a 0% chance of that happening.
Like, and here's the thing too. Like, I'm not just trying to sound.
By the way, if they after a bye week, they may be number 10 next week, because Texas Tech or BYU could get knocked out this week.
Yeah.
So they may be number 10 next week.
Hell, Oregon could get knocked out. They're playing against Iowa, and it's going to be like 31 degrees and raining.
Yeah. Where's Iowa at this poll? Let's see.
20th.
Where is Iowa? 20th. Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. Like, I'm not trying to sound like this big Texas apologist homer.
I know. Oh, I get it.
Like, if this was an 8-team bracket, which is what it should be and what it always should have been, I would be totally fine with where Texas is because Notre Dame wouldn't be in it. And if that's the scenario, then they would probably be ahead of Notre Dame in the rankings. But the College Football Playoff Committee just wants Notre Dame in there because it's Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And by doing that, specifically by putting Notre Dame in there at number 10, they are throwing all of their metrics out the window that they said that they are going to prioritize. And that's what pisses me off.
I mean, I'm aware. I'm fully aware with you. There was a lot of things in this. Again, when I say I don't understand how A&M is not at least second place in second seed. I don't get that. That doesn't make sense to me. From what they've done, what their resume is, being undefeated, I get Indiana's playing really well. And, you don't want to seem elitist, so you put Indiana higher. I don't like giving this whole leg up to the Big Ten, pretending that they're the best conference because they don't play anybody, because their conference is garbage, because they have like 3 good teams. Is Iowa their 4th best team right now?
Probably, I think.
I mean, is there somebody else in there?
USC, maybe.
Oh, USC's 19 and Iowa's 20, and Michigan's 21. So those are your teams that you're really looking at as your powerhouse back into is USC, Iowa, and Michigan. Like that's not they're not bad teams, but they're not. You can't go well. Texas they're not playing enough people in the Big Ten to tell me that the teams that are in the 20s that are still, having trouble getting wins week to week are this really big competition against these juggernaut teams. But I think A&M's playing that well this year, and I don't like the Aggies. I don't want them to be there. I want the Texans to be in by 70 and humiliate them. I want them to get knocked out in the first round. I love if Texas played them, beat them in the conference, beat them in the last game of the season, beat them in the conference championship, and then played them in the first round of the playoffs and beat them again. That would be hilariously fun for me. I don't know if somehow that would be possible, but I think it'd be possible somehow to line up the seeding there for that to happen. But that being said, what they've done so far this season, to me, the resume speaks louder than what we've seen from Indiana. Ohio State, I'll give a little bit more credit to, but they haven't played a ton of people either. I could see A&M being above them as well. It's like, what do you value? Do you value beating a down Penn State who's been really, really down and lost to some awful teams, or an LSU team who's lost to good teams? That LSU team that's underwhelmed but is not terrible. They're just losing to good football teams. And then you go there at night and you were able to win. I think I value that more.
Well, yeah, I mean, LSU's lost to 3 top 10 teams. So they're not horrible. Here's the other issue I have with the rankings right now, just based on the way the bracket lines up. When Georgia beats Memphis, Oregon beats Texas Tech, Ole Miss beats Virginia, and Notre Dame beats BYU. That means you have 2 SEC matchups in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
And then a Big Ten matchup in the quarterfinals. So you're just playing more conference games by leaving it this way.
No, I'm with you.
At least flip Indiana and Texas A&M or Texas A&M and Ohio State and make it a little more interesting.
I think that we'll look more into that as it gets closer, because I think the TV networks will probably be more in their ears at that point, being like, hey, let's make this fun. Let's not ruin this. And as much as that shouldn't be the case either, it's why Notre Dame's 10. It's my only belief is why Notre Dame is 10. That
people think that they would rather watch Notre Dame instead of Texas.
I think they know Texas either in or out. Like, I don't think that, and I get what you're saying about the 3-loss team, but that's a whole different argument that they don't want to get into right now. They're praying that they don't have to deal with 3-loss Texas.
Yeah.
Because that's a different argument you have to deal with as you get into the last couple games. And so Texas has got a lot to do. They got a bye week. They got to get healthy. You still have to be able to go play Georgia and win that game to stay alive. I don't like going into A&M coming here the last game of the season. And then, well, if we win that, we have an argument, because now we're not really even selling it. I just don't like any of it. But I know we'll have that discussion plenty of times. But I'm with you, Matt. There was a couple things that happened in this, is why I wanted to start with it, is because it's way more frustrating to me than the AP poll. Because the AP poll, we know what the problem is. They don't watch all the games. So we know that that's why the AP poll is what it is. There's a bunch of people who probably shouldn't be voting who are. The college football playoff poll, you're like, oh, no, you guys are actually controlling what happens in the playoffs now. You're controlling where the seeding is. You're controlling where it goes.
Yeah.
And if Oklahoma wins out, it's interesting because they play Alabama this week. Or is it next week?
Oklahoma and Missouri both can't win out because they play each other.
Okay.
And I think that Vanderbilt's out. Like I'm answering Joe's questions here. I think Vanderbilt's out because the best game left on their schedule is number 25 Tennessee, and you can't put them in ahead of a Texas if Texas beat them, and then goes on and gets two more top 10 wins.
They're not out because Texas has not beaten Georgia and A&M.
Well, I'm saying if in his scenario, if Texas, Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt went out, for example, Texas goes ahead of both of those teams.
Yeah. So, if Texas, Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt all went out, then it comes down to the question of, well, then where does Georgia fall in the middle of that? Because Georgia has a win over Vanderbilt, right? Or no, Alabama has a win over Vanderbilt. Who does Georgia have the win over? Alabama?
Georgia. Let me pull up Georgia.
They beat Alabama?
No, they lost Alabama. Alabama owns them, remember?
I'm trying to think. Who did they?
Hold on, I'm pulling up their schedule. Georgia has beaten Tennessee. They lost to Alabama. They beat Ole Miss.
Ole Miss was the one I was trying to think of. I was trying to think of what team in that mix did they have the win over to see where that goes. But Ole Miss doesn't have any more big games, right?
No, Ole Miss plays the Citadel this weekend.
Yeah, but I don't think they have any more ranked games, right?
And then they play Florida at Ole Miss, and then they go to Mississippi State, which I am terrified of that game because if Ole Miss beats the Citadel and beats Florida, and then they go into Mississippi State as a team, I mean, in a rivalry game with that kind of toxicity, that stadium is going to be absolutely out of control, and it's going to terrify me.
Yeah. And I'll say this. I don't think the ACC, under any circumstances, should get two teams in. I don't think they will. League. It's a one big league. They've been awful this year. I just don't see any way you can justify putting any of them in. I don't get it. Look, I'm rooting for all those teams to win out as well and cause more chaos. But for me, all that really matters in the back of my mind is Texas win out. Texas went out. You threw away your mulligan when you lost to Florida. You had two mulligans. You've already used them both. You don't have another one. I know you'd really like to have one playing Georgia and playing A&M. You don't have one anymore. So for Texas, it means that's how much more important the Georgia game is because you're 11, because you're not 10. That's how much more important the Georgia game is. That's how much more important this A&M game is. This is also, you beat Georgia, you beat Arkansas. This will possibly be, we'll have to do more research. This may be the most important Texas A&M game in history. Can you imagine another one that would be bigger than this? Now, granted, it may not be if they're both in, but like, can you imagine? I mean, when's the last time they've both been ranked top 10 teams?
Well, I think that last year was probably the most important game in the history of the rivalry because the winner went to the SEC championship.
Yeah.
But I think this is kind of weird to say, but if Texas beats Georgia and Arkansas, they go into the game 9-2, and then Texas A&M, let's say they lose to Missouri this weekend, and they go in 10-1.
Yeah, that changes a lot of things.
That's the biggest game in the history of the rivalry. The other scenario where Texas A&M is undefeated, if they're undefeated going to Austin, they're in the playoff. There's no question about it.
That does make sense. Yeah. No, and you're right here, the dog. Maybe that's right. Maybe it's the most important for Texas. I couldn't tell you the last time they've both been ranked when they played, because back in the day, they normally weren't both good together. Like back in the day, whoever won Texas was the much better team. And so there probably wasn't a lot of times they both be top 10 ranked teams.
Top 10, I'd have to go back and do some pretty.
That's what I'm saying. If they win, they're both top research. 10.
Yeah, but I mean, last year A&M was ranked 20th.
Yeah.
but that's certainly not the same thing.
Yeah, because last year was a big game, but it didn't. And like it was a renewal of the rivalry and everything else. It just didn't feel quite. I don't know. I think maybe this is just coming from a Texas side. Maybe this is Big Brother thinking that I'm looking at. I'm like, when's the last time A&M was decidedly more like favorited in the matchup, and Texas was still a competitor? Because A&M's been the favorite in a lot of them, but Texas wasn't necessarily competing for something as big.
I think obviously it's hard to say because they took so much time off, and it's hard to find the rankings of all these games.
Yeah, I know.
But the one that really pops up in my mind, I know there's probably another one in there, so don't kill me in the comments or whatever. But like I feel like in 1998, Texas A&M was ranked like number 5, and they came to Austin, and Texas was unranked, but they were 8-3, and they beat Texas A&M.
No, and that's what I'm saying is I think that there's been those matchups for sure, 100%.
Yeah,
there's been the matchups where Texas has been unranked and Texas A&M has been really good, and there's been ones where Texas was ranked and A&M, wasn't. Yeah, like, and they're decent sometimes, but they just very rarely back in the old school days were both teams clicking at the same time because you had to recruit Texas. Whoever was winning that recruiting battle usually had the ranking.
Yeah.
So historically, I'd be curious. We'll do more. We still got to play Georgia in a week, and that's all of it kind of goes to crap if Texas doesn't beat Georgia. It changed the narrative very much into that game, where then A&M's, Texas trying to hold on for a piece there.
Yeah. This is going to be fun, man. Every Wednesday for the rest of the month, we're going to get to have these heated debates about the college football playoff on Wednesdays. That's going to be amazing.
That'll be fun. Do they do it every week, or do they wait a week or two?
I feel like they do it every week.
I don't know. We'll see. I know that they don't necessarily. I know that there's been. I don't know. I can't tell you if they do it every week or not. Let's also get into this. We got a little bit of time. Let's get into the Texas basketball team and their loss to Duke last night. There was a lot of positives and a lot of negatives in that one as well. We got our first look at the Texas Longhorns. A little bit surprising. Nick Cody getting the start at power forward for the Longhorns, along with Voight Titus, Kendall Weaver, Dalen Swain, and Tremone Mark. We knew at least 3 of those were starting. We thought the 4th one, I believe Kendall Weaver, was going to start as well. Cam Heide only plays 9 minutes in the game, which I don't necessarily think is really going to be the trend going forward. I think he will play more minutes going forward. The way Duke was playing and the size of Duke did alter that a little bit. So it's going to be by who you play. You do have a little bit more depth this year. You do have 10 guys that you feel like you can play, maybe 9 really, depending on what Daru ends up being for you. But you have enough guys that you feel you can go in there and maybe change up what you do. We saw Texas in this game play really, both teams struggled mightily to score the ball early in this game. And then when things started to go, you start to see Isaiah Evans for Duke get hot and basically keeps them in the game and is pushing them early, just hitting a few threes early on and, trying to push away from Texas. Texas fights back. They go on a run to end the half. Finishing halves, very good thing to see. That's something you want to see out of this Texas team, is to finish games tough. And Texas leads 33-32 at half. You feel pretty good about it, but you're a little bit worried because Cameron Boozer, the big 5-star prospect, is going to come out in that second half. And you felt like things were going to change a little bit, where he was going to be much more aggressive. They were going to feed him the ball, and they did. He ends up shooting 12 free throws in the game. He only makes 3 field goals, but they shoots 12 free throws in the game. He just keeps driving. Voight Titus also shoots 10 free throws in the game. They were pounding into each other. They were playing physical styles on both sides, but Duke just was able to play much more offense in the second half. And we saw once again, I think the offense looked better than the Rodney Terry offense. It looked better than the offense last season. There was more movement to it, but you still had 5 guys out on that court a lot of times who seemed to have no idea what to do on the offensive end of the basketball court. And it really feels like this is a team that you go, when we had Trey Johnson, I think we'd said at the beginning of the Trey Johnson season, okay, there's finally a guy to give the ball to when your things aren't going right. You now no longer have that again. So even though things are starting to look better and there's more pieces to it, there is no number one option on this team when things start to get congested. The shooting wasn't there as well. 5 of 17 for under 30% from three-point range. They only shot 32% in the game total. That's a lot of missed layups, a lot of gimmies that were missed. Nick Cody shot one of the worst 10-foot shots I've ever seen in my life. He was wide open 10 feet away from the basket, and he was short by a good distance, like hit the front of the rim, not the top of the front of rim, the front of the rim. So we saw a lot of pieces of that. One of the biggest factors you saw, though, of what Texas did well when they were really playing well against Duke, they rebounded the ball on the defensive end of the ball, on the defensive end of the court. They did not allow second chance points to Duke. And that was really, really big because in the second half, Duke started to rebound the ball offensively a little bit more. They got those second chance points. They got the putbacks. They got the drives to the bucket, and Texas just didn't have an answer. They were not going to be able to put up 43 points in the second half. They scored 33 in the first half. They were not going to be able to put 10 more in the second, and it just let it. So at the end of the day, Matt, Texas basketball played better than I think in some areas, and then the level of concern about some others definitely popped up to the limitations of this team may still be pretty large going into this season.
Well, I think you can certainly look at it that way, and I tend to agree with it. But just to be devil's advocate a little bit, it's the first game of the season with a new coach and a bunch of new players, so they're still learning how to play together. And you just played the number 1 or the number 5 team in the country.
Yes,
and you were leading them at halftime.
Yeah,
because of
a lot of positives take out.
Yeah, because of effort, because of rebounding, because of just the overall physicality that you were playing with. Like, I thought that they played more physical of the game on last night than I saw them play almost all year last year.
Oh yeah,
and a big reason for that. Yeah, and a big reason for that is because you have a 7-footer in there who's getting 15 points, 8 rebounds. He had a block as well, and with Voikatitis, and he was 9 of 10 from the free throw line. Like,
yeah,
you got a big man who can shoot free throws. Like, that's a really good thing. I was a little bit disappointed. Also, Dalen Swain I thought was really good.
Yeah, he did really good.
He's
3-point shooting. He was 2 for 5, but he had a couple of threes, and you're like, all right, if he can do that, if he can go 3 for 5 in these games, huge.
Yeah, exactly. But one of the things I was kind of disappointed in, number one, Cam Heide only playing 9 minutes. I wish he could have been out there a little bit more. Tremont Mark, 2 points. He only took 2 shots. Like, it just felt like he wasn't really a part of the game very much, which was kind of surprising to me. But listen, I know that he was tied for your second leading scorer, and that's great. But Jordan Pope, 0 of 7 not shooting threes.
Yeah.
That's bad.
No, it is. And good.
Well, I was like, and I thought he made a couple of good, like, defensive efforts throughout the game, but it was very apparent to me throughout the game that he's just not a power conference basketball defender. And he's more of a liability out there than anything else.
No, and that's so Jordan Pope, we'll start there. Heat check guy. But you know what he is. He's going to be what some of these other shooters Texas gets. They're going to be liabilities against athletic players. You don't play athletic players every single week. You play a lot more in the SEC. But when you play Duke, you're playing against really athletic players. And when you put out shooters, you really just want to have one of them on the court at the time, and you want to try and make up for their defense, their lack of defense. Against Duke, that's hard because they're putting out 5 players all the time. Most of the time, there's someone you can hide. There's somewhere where you can kind of hide him a little bit more in basketball. So there is the thought that he will have, if he's able to shoot as well as he did from 3 in this game, he will have a reason on this team because no one else was hitting anything really from downfield. Swain looked all right in the first half, looked pretty bad in the second half shooting the ball. So he's got to figure out that. I thought Kendall Weaver was disappointing, not so much in what I would like, but what I was hoping his progression would have been. I think he's going to be much better for the rest of the season. I'm not taking this as a Kendall Weaver under. I think he was trying to push too much and do too much because he knows he's important to this team. And we were trying, and I think he was really pushing to try and get down court fast, and he just wasn't able to get down. The athleticism of Duke was able to keep up with his athleticism. And the fact, again, of not having a point guard on this team, I get you don't want to run a point guard. I get everybody would rather be big, especially against a Duke team when you're a little undersized. But, man, play a freaking point guard. I get you got Wilcher. Give me Wilcher then at the beginning of the game. Give me somebody, and I know Wilcher wasn't great either. Like, I'm not, but this is the problem, is they keep running down the court. There's supposed to be a fast offense, right? They maybe beat Duke down the court once in the entire game. Duke was trying to get back, but that's like, okay, well, your entire game plan of how to win and score points was out the window for the entirety of the game. You had to play a half-court offense the entire game. And now you're playing a half-court offense, and you have eliminated Kendall Weaver and Tremont Mark from the game because they're both trying to play point guard. And they're not good enough to play point guard and score because that's really, really hard to do. So you need to put those guys in better positions to be able to be cutters and be able to, go out and set screens and do other things instead of handling the basketball, because once they handle it and they pass it, they take 2 steps to their left, 2 steps to their right, and they kind of fade out of the offense. And we saw too much of that, of those guys fading out of the offense, that when we see 5 shots for Kendall Weaver, he's 1 of 5. Tremont Mark only takes 2, he's 1 of 2. You have to be able to play more. You have to be able to get those guys a little bit more involved. I get to. This is also Duke's defense. They basically said, we're going to take away everybody on the perimeter. And we're going to go in and see if we can get Voigt Titus to foul out. Because this dude is just savaging people flying around. He is a bit awkward. But he made it work. Now, there's going to be, I would say Voigt Titus is going to foul out at least 5 to 10 times this season. Because he is just clunky at times. And you're going to get refs who are going to call it too tight, and he's going to foul out, right? He only had 4 in this game, but he had 2 offensive fouls. Like, he's a little clunky sometimes. So I think there's that. Lucina Traore did pretty well for them in the post as well. They were just trying to get the ball inside a lot more in that. And you're not going to play Duke every week. That's the biggest positive. You don't play Duke every single week. But you are going to have to continue to figure out how to run this offense with the players you have, unless you have a point guard who can go out there and run it. And I don't think that's Jordan Pope either. So you have to figure out something of how you start to run this, and whoever's going to run it has to understand how to play that position. It's the same thing we talked about with Dallas with Cooper Flagg. It's really hard to do.
Yeah, it is really hard to do. But like here, I think this is probably the most disappointing thing for me. And it's a bit nitpicky because he did play, a decent amount. But Simeon Wilcher, to me, was arguably your biggest addition of the offseason, outside of maybe Dalen Swain. Like, that was a really good get in a lot of people's minds. He played 15 minutes, and he didn't score, and he took 3 shots. And, like, he just didn't really feel like he mattered at all. He was just out there.
He did. He also led the team in assists with 2.
Right. Like, that's a problem. That's a big, big problem. But I don't understand why he seems to me like he's the most capable player on this roster of being a point guard. Yeah. Outside of maybe Tremont Mark. So why not give him a better chance to do that? Like Kendall Weaver, like he's better at it than Kendall Weaver.
Yeah. And that's my point is I think Simeon Wilcher can go fast better than anybody else because Kendall Weaver is going to get out of control. And that's kind of what you want. He is a frenetic energy. You don't want him to be completely under control because that's what they did, and it slowed him down. And slowing Kendall Weaver down is not really what you want. He's supposed to be the Tasmanian devil out there. He's supposed to be a lunatic running around, jumping up, getting rebounds. And it felt he was slower in this game because he was trying to fit into this offense. Again, part of that is, Matt, you're 100% right that this is the first game of a season of these guys playing together against people and playing against a really, really good Duke team that had a ton of size and a ton of athleticism. So I'm not like, I think there was a ton of positives to take out of this. The big issue to me was you wanted to see somebody really step up in this game for me. And I think Dalen Swain was probably the closest, and maybe he will be the guy by the end of the year. That is your go-to. But who you like with 12 seconds or 8, I mean, hell, they ran the play at the end of the first half, right? You remember the play at the end of the first half. They dribble around and they throw the ball to each other a couple times. And then Traore gets it at the top of the key or at the 3-point line with 1 second on the shot clock. And everyone's like, shoot. And he puts up a bad 3. You're like, that was a possession?
Yeah.
The slow down possession was just keep passing like a game of hot potato. That to me blew my mind of them just not being in the right moment. That will get better. That will continue to improve. But again, not having someone out there directing anything, not having that one, the same as we talk about Michael Taft directing the defense. There's no one on this offense right now. Dalen Swain probably knows this offense better than anybody because he played in it last year, but it doesn't feel like there's anyone who really understands the offense fully yet. And if they can get that figured out in the next month and a half, they have a shot in the SEC play. But I don't know who you throw the ball to at the end of the game. We look at the Rockets last year in the NBA, right, Matt? And what was one of the biggest problems for the Rockets? You get down to the end of the game, who shoots?
Yeah.
You don't know. Now they got Kevin Durant because they went out and said, oh, we need somebody to hit that shot for us. And you get one of the best in the history of the NBA and Kevin Durant to go do it. For Texas now, you can't go fix that now, but you have to start to try and find the guy you feel confident. Is it Jordan Pope? Is he a heat check guy that you feel confident putting in those situations that you can call him off the bench and he can hit you a couple threes? Is it Dalen Swain that you put the ball in his hands and you trust him to not turn the ball over? Only one turnover in the game. Can you get Voigtaitis to fix his turnover problems, fix his fouling problems, be a little more confident? Highest level of basketball he ever plays, and he's playing against Duke, game 1 of it, in Charlotte on national television with Dick Vitale calling the game. Maybe it was a bit much for him. So there's a lot of positive that maybe he's the guy. I think there's options for it, but you still look at this team and you go, all right, it is year 1 of Sean Miller. And I'm going into the season very much after watching that going, it's year 1, taking everything with a grain of salt this season, because it does feel like the team is just not, it's not really his team. And so there's going to be a lot of growing pains as it goes.
Yeah.
And CB, I'm with you. The 9 turnovers by the bigs, but again, I don't think the plan, it was going in. Yeah, just hand the ball to Voigtaitis and Traore because they're guarding everybody on the perimeter. We can't drive on them. So just throw it into the bigs over and over and over again. I don't think that was a game plan going in.
Well,
Maybe
no,
it was.
I don't think it was. I think the game plan was what it was supposed to be, which was to run. And then Duke is just such a good basketball team that they were able to flip it and control the game and make it their game.
Also, by the way, screw Duke for flopping constantly.
That's Duke
Screw
basketball, baby.
you. Oh, pretty boys.
I have one other point to make before we go to our break. Are you really, is anybody really going to sit here and tell me that there's 5 better basketball teams than what I watched on Tuesday night with Duke?
No, I mean, not if Cameron Boozer plays as he did in the second half. But by the
They
way,
are so good.
they're so good and they're stacked. And then, then Isaiah Evans having his game. By the way, I also thought it was BS they gave the award to Cameron Boozer and not Isaiah Evans. It was like, by the way, Isaiah Evans won this game for you. Cameron Boozer didn't show up in the first half. Had 0 points at the end of the first half. And then 9 of his points came on free throws. So I know you want to give it to the kid that the award they gave at the end or whatever to him and had him for the interview because he's the big name. But I was like, oh, that always rubs me wrong when they're just like, we picked who's going to win this. Doesn't matter. The number 1 recruit's going to win, even if somebody else scores more and does more.
He could have had 5 points on 3 of 10 shooting, or 6 points on 3 of 10 shooting.
Yes,
and probably
they would have been like, well, he rebounded the ball well, but I think in Hair the Dog, you're right. There's plenty to work on. You have plenty of time now. I don't know what your next big game is. I'll look real quick and see when our next big game for Texas is. I know you get to play a little bit of easier schedule now. Go pick up some wins. You play Lafayette, FDU,
UConn probably,
Kansas City, Rider, Arizona State, maybe Virginia. those 2 games there at the end of the month and beginning of December. You get a huge game against UConn on December 12th is your next. But I'm just saying of like a real game. Arizona State and Virginia could be real games. I don't know what Arizona State is. I know Virginia is a decent team usually. So they're not ranked, but the Fairleigh Dickinson Knights are not going to be the one.
Well, Virginia beat Rider by 35 or 34 points.
Yeah, we played Rider too. So I like there. We have until at earliest 3 more weeks until we play Arizona State. So 3 more weeks to really build on things and get things better. I'm fine. I'm not trying to be a pessimist about this team. I think what I discussed this with my man Steven from Fanatic Perspective last week about his expectations, and I think he had the right idea, which was I'm not really going to judge the Sean Miller tenure on this year alone, because I don't know what he's going to be able to teach and what to bring into this season. So the expectations are a little bit lower, and you just kind of want to see the guys go out there and play and get better and grow. And you want to be able to see his recruiting. You want to see what he can start to do. But you can just tell the level of talent on the court. The fact that Sean Miller had them up at halftime, the fact that there was chances for them to get back in that game where they were clearly outmatched talent-wise was a good sign. They had less size, less athleticism, and just less experience playing high levels of basketball. Traore hasn't played basketball in over a year because of his injury. He was at Xavier all last year and did not play. So he's coming back fresh off, again, coming from Long Beach State or something like that, and then going to Xavier. So again, biggest game he's ever been a part of in his life. Boyd Titus, biggest game. I get why you have those 9 turnovers. You got to clean that up. But, you're playing against top recruits and everything else. So that's where I'll say I think there's plenty of positives to take out of this at the end of the day. And you just have to say, well, there's a lot to clean up, though. And you're going to have to figure out. I think Sean Miller is going to learn a little bit last night when people looked at Texas offense and went, oh, yeah, someone will be able to fix this offense right away. And then Sean Miller came in and go, it's a little bit more complicated than you may think it is. We just don't have great offensive minds on that roster right now. You don't have somebody that you can really go to. Now, I get if he would have been able to bring in, I can't remember the kid's name, the point guard from Xavier that he really wanted to bring in.
Oh,
but you know what I'm
Conwell.
Saying? Yeah. Ryan Conwell. If he would have brought him in, I think it changed a lot of things because now that offense runs way more precisely of what he wants. And you have another 3-point shooter. So if you are able to bring in Conwell, it probably changes some things for you. So, again, you may be a player away from kind of the vision he had for this season. I still think you can make an impact. We'll see where the SEC is this year. I think you still have a very good shot to make the tournament this season. I think you have a very good shot to be about as good as you were last year, maybe a little bit better because you do have some bigs, so you match up very much better in a lot of these games that maybe you didn't match up well at all last season. So you just didn't have any size. So maybe you'll get better there. You can be a faster team now. You got some guys who can run. There's a lot of positives. We saw just some of the negatives where you went, okay, the pipe dream of this Texas team being able to be a Sweet 16 team this year feels like a pipe dream. Still should be a tournament team, and any tournament team can win one game. But I don't know if you're going to win. I don't know if you can win that second game. I don't know if you can go to the second weekend with this team. And guys, prove me wrong. Please. There'll be no one be happier to be wrong that this is not a Sweet 16 team. I just don't think they necessarily have the experience and the players with this offense and this team to get it done. Plenty of time, though. 3 weeks till you play your next really big opponent. They should be able to win these next 4 games until then pretty handily.
Last thing I'll say is I agree that you should not judge the entire Sean Miller era on the first year. I think he still has a lot that he wants to do in terms of player acquisition. But for the love of God, Patrick, if it is the last thing that I ever say about this basketball team, find a freaking point guard.
Oh, well, yeah. No. I think this is the same message. Sean Miller calls up Sark and he's like, hey, so when you're looking for offensive linemen, can you find me a point guard too? Two things we desperately need to do in the portal is we need to find point guards and offensive linemen. They don't grow on trees, and it's very hard to find one. Now, we'll see. I mean, I don't think there's anybody young on this roster either that he's going to try and like. Maybe Simeon Wilcher is a guy to learn that and be that guy next year for Texas. But it's going to be some tough times during the season as they get acclimated. That UConn game on the 12th may also not be great, but we haven't seen what UConn does. Hair of the dog always nails it. That is, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I agree. Look, the only reason I bring this up is because Rodney Terry made it to the Sweet 16, and everyone's like, you couldn't make it to the Elite Eight? Duh. Guys.
That wasn't his team, though.
I get it. So there was a lot of things to be positive about. Marcus Carr ain't coming back. Marcus Carr and not getting back. But we'll see. I mean, maybe everybody's got eligibility now. We don't know the rules anymore. Maybe we'll get all our guys back. All right, we're going to take our first break. We come back. We'll get into our NFL power rankings this week. We'll see if the Colts move down, if the Texans are still in there, ranked somewhere positive. Matt's going to go on a rant about how the Cowboys don't deserve to be ranked at all. They shouldn't even be on the list. We'll get to all of that and more. We get into hour 2 here on Open Gym on Texas Sports Unfiltered.
At Sleep Cycle Center, we can treat your sleep apnea in various ways. My story starts 15 years ago with the loss of my father to undiagnosed untreated sleep apnea. And this is a very preventable disease, and treatment options are various. Millions of people across America have sleep apnea, and they fail to realize the early warning signs. Fatigue, daytime sleepiness, and snoring are the most common signs. We'll find the best solution using advanced technology, oral and epigenetic appliances, or CPAP. We offer weight loss, oral surgery, and laser treatments. Schedule your appointment today and get your sleep evaluation.
If you're looking to remodel a kitchen, renovate your bathroom, or maybe add some new life to your outdoor space, reach out to our friends at McCall Custom Homes. They are custom home builders and renovators here in Central Texas, and they've been doing it in Central Texas for more than 40 years. It's a father-son team with a ton of experience, and all of that experience is here in the Austin area. So they know what it takes to turn an Austin area home into something truly, truly special. Right now, our friends at McCall Custom Homes are offering free estimates to TSU listeners so they can come out to your place, hear your vision, they can tell you what they can do, and then you can go from there. Don't just take my word for it. Check out their website, McCallCustomHomesATX.com. Look at the gallery of jobs they've done over the last 4 decades. And then when you're ready, again, reach out to them and they will come to you. McCallCustomHomesATX.com, or you can call or text Mike McCall directly at 512-633-9580. It's McCall Custom Homes. We build value into your home.
Field goal, end zone, interception.
What's up, kid?
Just trying to write a new commercial for audiovisual consultations. Football season is about to start.
Okay, so what have you got so far?
Roses are red, violets are blue, football is awesome, our installations are too.
Yeah, I don't think you're getting what I want.
Okay, how about my football lies over the ocean?
Boy.
Yeah, I guess I just don't really understand this sport. Think about hockey, a sport played by real men. Fights, no TV timeouts, and no flopping.
Yeah, that's why Audiovisual installs systems so that every customer feels like they're right there on the field.
People's love for football might be hard to understand, but ABC can tackle any residential or home improvement to get you ready for the big game.
Now you're getting it.
Ready for the halftime show?
What?
Hug your kids, laugh with strangers, and make love to whoever the hell you want.
Just call us at 255-8678. That's 512-255-8678.
Back here on Open Gym, here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. Myself, Patrick Davis, alongside Matt Galatzan of Texas Longhorns on SI. And, of course, you, the third member of Open Gym. Yes. Text lines open 512-222-9328. And over there on the chat, of course, on Facebook, X, Twitch, and, of course, on YouTube. Yeah, we don't know who has eligibility left anymore because the whole G League thing, and then we'll see. Can we get Dylan DeSue back again? And we can get,
TJ Ford only played a couple of years, right?
Yeah, TJ Ford. I mean, he only had what, a 11, 12-year career in the NBA. I don't know if that's enough to get rid of it.
Also, did you see the graphic that I think it was ESPN put out? That was
yeah,
the all-time Texas team versus the all-time Duke team, and you left TJ Ford off of the list.
Yeah, they went with like NBA success, but I still think TJ Ford should have been on there. He was a top draft pick.
Then why is Zion Williamson's bum ass on there?
Zion Williamson has been good in the NBA. TJ Ford was good in the NBA as well, by the way. He just wasn't like he was not as great as he was supposed to be because of injuries. But yeah, no, it was once again what I said online. I think CB posted it. Was it's like this once again shows that ESPN doesn't know ball. The meanest thing you can say to another grown adult is you don't know ball.
I like to think that let me make sure I get this right. I like to think that they left TJ Ford off of the list because of this. And I love TJ Ford. He might be my favorite basketball player of all time. But come on.
Oh, it's the best. Well, that one too, I think he said that they gave him because they gave him those shorts there, and I think it was somewhat of a joke at a point or something. He's told a story about this before. I've seen the story of this before. But yeah, it is nuts.
Don't you remember that craze though back in the day with
the
shorts? I love that.
I mean, because TJ Ford did the commercial with Kendrick Perkins and Carmelo Anthony, where the baggy suits in the draft, and so I mean, TJ Ford was definitely Texas' best point guard. There's no debating that.
He's the second best Texas basketball player of all time.
Yeah, and probably better at Texas than Kevin Durant.
Yeah, he got him to a Final Four.
Yeah, like I love the Kevin Durant season, but we didn't know what Kevin Durant was going to be. And DJ Augustine was really good. That was a time when Texas had a ton of good players. Augustine was always really good. Just never quite clicked fully. He never had that elite ability of anything. I'm with you, CB. TJ and Mac Brown, both. Give them both statues. Put some statues out there. It was good to see Mac Brown on the sideline, too, in the Vanderbilt game.
Mm-hmm.
That was good to see.
It was funny, though. I was talking to my brother last night, and we were talking about college football playoff and all this stuff. And he's like, "Yeah, I was at the game with Dad, and they brought out the 2005 team for the 20th anniversary or whatever, and everybody was really excited. But the only thing that I could think of was, it's been 20 years."
Yeah.
It's that's actually true. They need to get one soon.
They do. It was longer before they won the 2005 from the one before that, because it was 35 years before that. So, no. Hopefully Arch wins this one here in the next year, 6 months, 3 months, whatever he wants to do. Arch can go win us one.
Let's say 3 months.
Let's say 3 months. How about that one? That's right, CB. I forgot. DJ Augustine was a good player. I really like DJ Augustine, and then I wanted to be a backup on the Spurs, and then he kind of went around, and he played for the Spurs for a little bit, but it was later in his career. TJ Ford played for the Spurs later in his career too. And there was one where TJ Ford playing for the Spurs gets knocked down, takes a bump under the basket, and they have to wheelchair him out. You were like, that's not good. He played 2 weeks later or something. You're like, okay. But no, TJ Ford, that was because TJ Ford is only a little bit older than me. So that was right when I was getting into starting to cover sports and starting to, want to do that more. And so maybe I was a senior in high school, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And when TJ Ford was coming out. So watching that stuff was tons of fun to watch those teams back in the day. And they're very, very baggy pants.
In that Final Four game against Syracuse, I was I think that I didn't have a Texas basketball jersey at the time. So I think that I took a white t-shirt and a Sharpie, and I wrote Texas 11 and Ford on the back.
There you go. It's the way to do it, man. It's the way to do it. Let's get to our NFL power rankings, Matt. We didn't change a ton last week. We didn't end up changing a ton last week, but we ended up with Indy as high as they have gotten so far. They have made their way into the top 4 last week. As we look at what happened over the weekend, and we also can take into trades into our power rankings as well, Matt.
Oh, okay.
And we can say, well, they added somebody or they didn't add anybody. And all right. So we saw out of our teams for last week, the Lions lost to the Vikings 27-24. The Buffalo Bills beat the Chiefs 28-21. Indianapolis also taking a loss last weekend to the Steelers 27-20, and Tampa Bay was off last weekend. So for our top 4 teams, 2 losses, 1 bye, and 1 win. Only 1 win out of our top 4. In that tier 2, Philadelphia is continuing to do what they do. They were in a bye week. They're continuing to add players like they do every year and just pillage and rape the entire NFL for all of its talent and the draft and everything else they do. What a horrible organization those people are. The Rams got a 34-10 victory. Looked really, really good in that one. The Seahawks beat the Commanders 38-14. Seahawks add Rashid Shaheed as well. The Chargers. I make a trade for an offensive lineman after losing Joe Alt. They win 27-20 over the Titans. In that game, the Packers take a big loss as well. The Packers thought that they were going on the right path. The Panthers beat them 16-13. Panthers 5-4, man. They're trying to stay alive here. They're going to move up from 22. They're above 500 now.
More reliable than the Cowboys.
More reliable than the Texans. And the Kansas City Chiefs, of course, lose to the Bills. No real shame in losing to the Bills, but they're 5-4 as well. Let's start with those top 10 teams, and none of them moved last week, Matt. I feel like they're going to move this week. What do you like to change around in your list here, Matt?
I think the Bills are back to number 1.
I think that's true.
So I think you go Bills at number 1, and I'm yeah, I could probably move Tampa Bay up to number 2. And then here's the one that I don't think you're going to agree with.
All right.
But I want to float it out there.
All right.
Because they have been playing really, really, really good football lately.
Yeah.
And my guy is dealing right now.
Back MVP race.
The Rams are number 4.
The Rams are not number 4. The Rams are not ahead of the Eagles. The Rams played really, really well. They beat the Saints, though, which again, I can't give you a huge amount of credit for doing what you're supposed to do when I already have you pretty high up there. When we go in, I think that we can say that the Lions are still number 3 on my list. I don't mind the Lions being number 3, right?
Yeah.
So that puts us where do the Colts fall after having the loss, but adding Sauce Gardner, adding another piece and saying, was it a 1-week thing, or are the Colts still in there, or they deserve to be a top tier team for that, or do they fall down to tier 2 in there? Here's what I'm going to propose to you, Matt. I'm going to propose we knock the Colts down all the way down to 6. And we move the Eagles and the Rams up into tier 1 again.
I'm good with that.
So we're going to knock the Colts down to tier 2 to start off. Tier 2 is the Colts, the team that I still cannot fully believe in, even though they have played really good football. I agree with you 100%, CB, by the way. It is about the playoffs for the Bills. If they do not start to figure that out, they have been able to beat the Chiefs a lot of times. That defense for them doesn't leave me a lot of hope that they are going to be able to figure it out in the playoffs. But that is what they have to figure out next. You're 100% right, CB. But yeah, looking at tier 1, then tier 1 will be the Bills, Bucks, Lions, Eagles, and Rams there in tier 1. Taking us to tier 2. And starting off tier 2, we have the Colts. I think the Seahawks are really easy to stay at number 7. They're a good team. I like where they're at. They could possibly jump the Colts, but I'm not going to knock the Colts that much for losing a game. I think that the Seahawks will be able to climb that more and more. The Chargers get a win. And so then we get to, I think the top 8 now feels set to me. Leaving the Chargers at 8 feels fine to me too. Then I think we go, all right, what is the punishment now for the Packers and for the Chiefs? As we look at the Packers get their loss, the Chiefs get their loss. The Broncos win against the Texans, but it is ugly. It is an ugly, ugly win that they maybe don't win if CJ Stroud doesn't get concussed in that game. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. The Patriots get another 24-23 win over the Falcons. They are 7-2, Matt. 7-2, along with the Broncos, both 7-2 at this point. The 49ers 6-3 with a 34-24 win over the Giants. The Washington Commanders lose Jane Daniels for a very long stretch of time now. They lose. They are 3-6. They are going to slide down our polls even further. The Steelers do get a win to be 5-3, 27-20 win over the Colts. And Minnesota and your favorite quarterback in the NFL, the Minnesota Vikings, 27-24 win over the Lions. So Vikings and J.J. McCarthy move up to what, 3? They move ahead of the Rams, though, for sure, right?
I think you dropped them to tier 4, actually.
So what do you like to see here at who is your, Matt, your number 9 team?
This might be a little bit of a hot take.
Okay.
I think it's the Patriots.
All right. They are 7-2, man.
And they just continue to win, you know.
Their schedule is super easy, but they are not losing the games that the Patriots would normally lose under that coach last year, which, by the way, does it make Bill Belichick look worse that now a year away from him being gone? I mean, I know they had Gerard Mayo last year, but like 1 year out, they're 7-2 again, looking good.
Bill Belichick is the most overrated coach in the history of football.
It's hard to go from the GOAT to the most overrated in like 2 years.
It's true.
2-3 years. Crazy. What a crazy fall off. So the Patriots fall in at 9 there. What do you like about the Broncos? I think that's probably the only other team that could really climb up above too many more. The Broncos, do they climb above the Packers and the Chiefs? Do the 49ers, the Steelers, the Vikings, any of those climb up above those two teams?
Here's my argument for the Broncos being number 10. And I get that game was super ugly.
Yeah.
But you won.
You won. And they're playing well.
You just continue to win games, like different kinds of games.
And the Packers are finding ways to lose games.
Right. So I would be good with moving the Broncos up to 10. I do think you could make an 11th team in tier 2 and make it the Packers, because I don't think they're a tier 3 team.
I don't think the Chiefs are either right now. I think that loss, I'm fine with having both of them in tier 2 still.
Okay.
I'm fine with both of them being in there, and then we'll get to tier.
It's really hard. I might even argue that you move the Chiefs to 11 and the Packers to 12, just because the Panthers are a worse loss than the Bills.
All right, I'm with you on that. I do think they're playing better. The Packers just keep losing games they should be winning. Like, I still think they're a good team, but they just, every time you're like, man, the Packers are doing really well, they just completely screw it up.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that puts us into tier 3 now. The 49ers, Commanders, Steelers, and Vikings are in here still. We can also start to look at some of the other teams that are going to be in tier 4. See if any of those move up above of anybody. I do think the Vikings and 49ers and Steelers are all winners this week. They're all going to stay in tier 3. They're not moving down. I don't think anybody's jumping any of them either.
No.
Out of that group. The Commanders will slide down. But with Jaguars getting 30-29 win over the Raiders, and then they take one of their wide receivers home with them as well in overtime. They take Jacoby Myers with them. The Texans lose that ugly game. Now CJ Stroud out. He will be out again this week for the Texans. That has been announced that Davis Mills will be the starter this weekend for the Houston Texans against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Then we have the Atlanta Falcons, who lost their game to the Patriots. Cannot put it together. They are 3-5 now. Chicago had their game where they played on. They beat the Bengals 47-42. Man, just zero defense in that game whatsoever. We know the Cowboys lost to the Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
Cardinals now saying they put Kyler Murray on injury reserve. He will miss at least the next 4 weeks, saying he needs to get his foot healthy. They're hoping that he will be done with the new. What's the video game he's playing?
Battlefield 6, probably.
Okay, so he's hoping he will defeat like the campaign or whatever you got to do in Battlefield 6.
Oh, no. He's playing the Battle Royale, and he's grinding every night.
I mean, he's got 4 weeks to go through it. I mean, like he can't.
Battle Royale doesn't end, man. It's you and your boys against 90 other real people.
Man, I don't get it. I don't play. I've never played like online games like that.
Right.
Never was a fan of it.
I played it the last 2 nights, and it's amazing.
And then we see the Panthers get a 16-13 win over the Packers in this week. So we will see if we want to move any of those guys around a little bit more and move them up. Does anybody else fall into tier 3 out of tier 4 for you right now? I think really you could say the Bears got a decent win. The Jags didn't get a decent win. They just still like they're winning, but they're not looking really that special still. Like I still don't even think they're a playoff team. They are 5-3, so they're second in the division. But I don't know if they move up a tier. And I think the Panthers probably move up in tier 4, but I don't know if they move up an entire tier.
Well, I think we, for the graphics' sake, almost, we need to have at least one more team in tier 3.
Yeah. To make it a 16 because we're going to drop the Commanders down to tier 4 now.
Yeah, like the Jaguars, maybe your Panthers.
So we're going to drop them down to tier 4. So that pushes, let's see here and here. All right. So then we're looking at tier 4. If we want to put one team up into tier 3, do you like the Bears, who are 5-3, the Jaguars, who are 5-3, the Carolina Panthers, who are 5-4? I think those are your basic only teams that can go up. Which one do you like the most to move up into that tier 3? I don't like rewarding the Jaguars, but it feels like the Panthers. That's a big leap. It's a big leap.
Yeah, the
for
Panthers
the Panthers
have gotten their brains beaten into.
I will say this: Rico Dowdle is killing it, man.
He is. I picked up somebody else instead of him in fantasy football, and I regret it. The Jaguars have beaten the Panthers. They've beaten the Texans, the 49ers, the Chiefs.
All right.
And then the Bears. Well, that doesn't mean my decision's made. Hold on. The Bears have beaten nobody. So I'm good with
Jags.
Jaguars. Yeah.
Jags up at 16. All right. Now let's look at tier 4 then. We could say the Ravens could move back up into this with Lamar Jackson. They could move up into tier 4. They won 28-6. It's the Dolphins. They're terrible, but they got the win there. The Giants are just too beat up. They lose a close one, 34-24 to the 49ers. And of course, the Cardinals get a win, but I have no faith in this Cardinals team still. I'm not moving the Cardinals up. I could move the Baltimore Ravens up into tier 4. We could also move somebody down, but let's say, who do we start off? Are the Panthers now leading tier 4 or are the Bears leading tier 4?
I think the Bears.
You said that with such confidence. I'm fine with that. I look, I think the Bears still have a lot of potential to go ahead and play better this year. So I will say the Bears are at 17, the Panthers at 18. And then we get into the questions here of disappointments. We're now getting into disappointments and risers disappointments, fallers disappointments. I think the Ravens are probably your highest of rising disappointments. That now Lamar Jackson back, they're starting to play a little bit better. They're rising. The Texans, Falcons, and Cowboys all fall into falling disappointments right now. So, like all of them are going the wrong direction in disappointment.
I can't move the Ravens up very, very high because they've only beaten the Bears, the Browns, and the Dolphins.
No, I get that. They have not played well. I think they played much better last week. We saw them play and we saw the Cowboys game. They played well. I think they've played well in some of these games. They're just, their defense has to start stepping up more. We'll see where they're at. So we'll leave the Ravens down a little bit lower. So do you leave the Texans, Falcons, and Cowboys in tier 4 then?
Yeah, I think so.
In what order?
Probably.
And where do the Commanders fall into this, by the way? Commanders are in there as well.
The Commanders are tier 5.
They drop all the way to tier 5. All right.
Well, they just lost Jaden Daniels.
They did. I'm with you.
So,
I'm okay with them. I'm okay.
Yeah, I mean it's if they didn't lose him, then they would probably be tier 4. But I'm fine in that order: Texans, Falcons, Cowboys.
Okay.
Well, actually, if we're taking the trades into account,
you're gonna put the Cowboys up a little bit higher.
Then maybe we move the Cowboys down to tier 5.
Oh, you're moving them down for the trades.
I thought they were. I love Quinnen Williams. I think he's awesome.
It's just a weird trade.
He doesn't.
No, he doesn't. No, I look. I'm going to tell you. I'm moving the Cowboys. Oh, I can't. Like the Falcons are so bad too.
Yeah, but
all right, we're leaving it that way. 19, 20, and 21. We're leaving it that way.
Wait, I'm missing someone. Who am I missing?
Who are you missing?
Isn't it 17, 18, 19, 20?
And the Cowboys are 21. Bears, Panthers, Texans, Falcons, Cowboys.
Oh, okay. I forgot to write down the Falcons.
All right, so now tier 5. We can move the Ravens up to tier 4.
They have to beat somebody good.
All right. So the Ravens lead tier 5 then.
Sure. Yeah.
At 22, the Ravens leave tier 5. I will say that the Cardinals with a win jump to 23. And the Commanders sit there now, sadly, at 24.
And the Giants behind them.
Yes. Sad NFC.
And then obviously the Browns.
Yeah, going down this, the Raiders lose in overtime. The Browns, what did the Browns do this week? They had a bye this week. The Dolphins lose on Thursday Night Football. The Titans lost to the Chargers. The Bengals lose that shootout with the Bears, 42-47. The Saints get killed by the Rams, and the Jets have traded away all of their players.
I think that you move the Bengals up behind the Raiders because they're at least competing in football games.
I mean, but the Browns didn't even play this week.
Okay, then moving behind the Browns, but they're not as bad as the Dolphins and the Titans.
They're not. Their defense is. Their defense is abysmal.
Yeah, but they're at least competing in games.
We will move the Bengals up there to 29. And then am I right in this? Where am I missing something?
Raiders 26.
Raiders are
Browns
26.
27.
There we go.
Bengals
Neat.
28. And then the rest stays the same.
Yep. The Jets. Could we move the Jets down?
Can we just take them off of the power rankings at this point?
There's no more power for the power rankings. Can we take them off? Is the meanest thing. You don't even get to be on there. You were at the bottom, and then you traded away two of your better players.
Or we just make them tier 8 because they're so much worse than everybody else.
Maybe they'll start winning now. Maybe, it was just a bad influences.
Yeah.
They did.
Terrible influence.
AD Mitchell's going to go for like 200 yards a game now.
He could. I think the best thing about the Quinnen Williams trade for the Cowboys is that he has maybe the best draft interview of all time.
What was his?
Do you remember that? Where he's talking and then he sneezes and then he says "bless you" to himself.
Oh, I still like the Tyler Booker interview where he said, "My favorite thing is watching the joy of football leave their eyes."
It's too bad that he can't actually implement that into practice.
He just every day wakes up and looks at himself in the mirror and he's like, "Oh no, it's happening to me." That's what happens playing for the Cowboys.
Yeah,
speaking of the Cowboys, they are on a bye week this week, Matt, but they have made some big additions. They have brought in Quinnen Williams. They have brought in Logan Anderson. Is it Anderson? Wilson. Logan Wilson. They brought in those two players. Their defense is trying to get healthy here in the next couple of weeks. Looking ahead at the Cowboys' schedule. We're not playing the schedule game so much. But if you start to look ahead, they have the Raiders, which is a very winnable game. Past that, do they win any of their next 5 after that, or 4 after that? Actually, 5. No, actually, Eagles, Chiefs, Lions, Vikings, and Chargers. Do they win any of those 5 games?
I think that you could probably make the case that they can beat the Raiders, although I'm not confident in them doing so. I think that you could probably make the case that they could beat the Vikings, but I'm not confident. And I think that they'll beat the Commanders. So I am prepared to give the Cowboys no more than 2 wins the remainder of the season, and I think that they will finish 5-11-1.
That's rough. Because really the stretch is you play the Raiders, and let's say if you win your 3 games that you're supposed to win that are left, right? You're supposed to beat the Raiders, you're supposed to beat the Commanders, you're supposed to beat the Giants. Now, Jaden Daniels could be back by that game, by the way. There's a chance he could be back for Christmas. That now, who knows where his shoulder is, but the report was he's going to miss a large amount of time, but they do expect him to be able to return. So you could be playing a Jaden Daniels returning. They weren't playing great with Jaden Daniels either, though. So I don't know. What's that?
I would let him sit. I wouldn't play him another snap this year until you can fix.
No, I get that. Unless somehow they stay in the games, which I don't see that happening. But I'm with you. I don't play him again, and I take the better draft pick, and I try and build more around that. But let's say they beat the Raiders, they beat the Commanders, they beat the Giants. So 3 more wins. That would put them at what?
6-1.
At 6 wins. 6 wins. Now you have the patch of Eagles, Chiefs, at the Lions, Vikings, and Chargers. Luckily, only 1 game on the road. But we know at Ford Field, you're not beating that Lions team. Because at Ford Field, they're a different team. They're a better team. I just don't see any way you have a chance there. I don't see how you beat the Chiefs. They're playing better. And again, this is Patrick Mahomes versus the Cowboys. Doesn't feel like it's much of a fight. And then the Eagles are going to, I think you played the Eagles well earlier this year, but a lot of that went into Jalen Carter getting himself kicked out before the game started.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're going to want payback for even that game being close. So if we say that we take out 3, so that's 3 more losses. That leaves you 2 games to try and get to 8 wins. And that's the Chargers and the Vikings. Is there injury? Maybe the Vikings.
If JJ McCarthy doesn't play against the Cowboys, the Vikings have a better chance to win.
I'm curious to see what the Chargers end up doing now with Joe all out, because this is kind of like how the 49ers would be when they would lose their left tackle, and you're just like everything falls apart. How good that offensive line was with Alt and without him is pretty big difference. They brought in another player to try and fix that, but who knows they're going to be able to do. But yeah, I just don't really see a path to 9 wins. I just don't see that path anymore.
To 6.
No, but I like, because 9 wins is all that matters. Either you want to win 9 or you don't want to win another game.
Yeah, that's what I think that now, like, this is another reason why these trades are a huge issue to me, is because I don't think they're going to be the difference in you winning a bunch of football games right now.
Yeah.
So you were better off just tanking for better draft picks.
And in the take-a-thon right now, we do have several teams that kind of goes into the coaching hot seat as well, Matt. But your tank-a-thon teams right now are the Jets with 1 win. They're 1-7. One only. Oh, they won a week or so ago. But yeah, the Jets have 1 win now. They are 1-7. They're leading the way, along with the Tennessee Titans, who are 1-8. Those are your 2 teams leading the way. Saints are 1-8 as well. So 3 teams with 1 loss as well. Then we start to look at the teams who are going to be battling for position that you're not probably going to be able to pass. Is the Dolphins at 2 wins, the Browns with 2 wins, the Raiders have 2 wins, which, God, I thought they were going to be a little bit better. The Giants with 2 wins, and they're all injured, and that's your 2-win teams. So you're really looking at are the Cowboys going to screw themselves to like pick 16, 17? And I think they could.
I think they could. And that's really unfortunate, because you had a really good opportunity to get into the top 10. And now you've traded for 2 guys who are really, really good football players and who are, going to make the defense a little bit better. And you're going to be super annoying, and you're going to go out there and you're going to put up 40 points against somebody like the Raiders. And you're going to be 4-5-1, and then Jerry's going to come out and be like, "All right, well, no, now we're still in the hunt. We can get a wild card, and we're great. We're going to compete." And then a week later against the Eagles, they're just going to get absolutely destroyed.
So looking at these bad teams, Matt, kind of looking at the coaching hot seats too. How many jobs do we think open up in the NFL next season? We know 1. The Titans are already open, right? We believe the Giants will be open. We believe the Dolphins will be open.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 3. Are there more jobs that you think will be open after this season? And like, really looking at who's safe and who's not safe right now, is Harbaugh seems to be fighting himself back out. But if Harbaugh comes back and they, with Lamar and everything else, end up only winning 6-7 games, he may be on a hot seat at the end of the season, that things went that badly. Zach Taylor with the Bengals, definitely on a hot seat, and because he's just not being able to manage a team well enough. And I know that's a lot on the general manager, but he doesn't seem to be able to be getting there. D'Amico Ryans is probably on a hot seat at least a little bit at this point, because they just seem to be regressing a little bit more than progressing. And then, I mean, I can't imagine Pete Carroll's on the hot seat yet. I don't think Dan Quinn will be on the hot seat after 1 bad year and 1 good year. I don't think he would necessarily be in there. I don't think the Vikings are going to be in that conversation either. Kellen Moore just got there. Raheem Morris with the Falcons. Seems like he may be, right?
Here are the jobs that I think are going to be open.
Okay.
I think Brian Schottenheimer's safe. I think D'Amico Ryans is going to get 1 more shot. Harbaugh is probably safe. Arizona's coach is probably safe. And then after that, it gets really dicey. Well, I think Dan Quinn's safe too, and I think that Kellen Moore's safe. After that, it gets really dicey, though. I think Raheem Morris could be on the hot seat. I think that Kevin Stefanski could be on the hot seat. Mike McDaniel's going to get fired. The Giants are going to be open. The Titans are already open. Aaron Glenn, I think that they'll probably give another year. So I'm going to guess the Falcons, the Bengals, the Browns, the Dolphins, the Giants, and the Titans are going to be the open.
I'm going to throw in one more name that's a really interesting hot seat name to me. One more name that I think is not on the hot seat at all, but CV brought it up a little bit ago about the playoffs for Buffalo. I think Sean McDermott has a decent shot not to be the coach of the Buffalo next year. I've said this for 2 or 3 years, but
if they don't get to the Super Bowl, I could see that happening.
That's what I'm saying. Is like if they lose out again, it's like, oh, we just keep coming up short. At what point do you say that's not good enough?
Especially if it's to the Chiefs.
Yeah, with Josh Allen. So that's another one that I think is a little bit more interesting right now of a coach who's, who's the safest coach in the world? Shane Steichen and that Indiana.
Oh yeah,
coaching job. I think he's pretty safe right now. Be my guess, the safest coach.
Him and Andy Reid.
Yeah. Well, Andy Reid, yeah. Andy Reid's biggest threat is a heart attack. That is shouldn't say things like that. It's rude. We're gonna take our second break and we'll come back and wrap the show up, get to our meet of the day here on a Wednesday edition of Open Gym here on Texas Sports Unfiltered.
Hi, I'm Hayden Covert. Welcome to Covert Buick GMC of Bee Cave, your home in the Hill Country for new and pre-owned Buick and GMC vehicles. With beautiful inventory arriving daily, including the GMC Yukon, Sierra 1500, and Buick Enclave, you'll be certain to find the perfect vehicle at an incredible deal. Our service department is also open for all your vehicle maintenance needs. Visit us today for a test drive. Covert, born and raised in Austin. We are professional grade.
Altstadt Beer, the best beer that you can find all throughout the great state of Texas. Y'all know I've been a fan of Altstadt for years now, and if you try it, I think you will be too. If you've already tried it, you know exactly what I am talking about. Altstadt is brewed locally in Fredericksburg, but available all over the state of Texas. So if you're tuned in Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, it does not matter. You can find Altstadt at a local grocery store or liquor store. They've got a bunch of different brews, something for every beer drinker out there. The lager, the Kolsch, those are their two flagship beers, both award winners. They are fantastic. The Altstadt Light sacrifices on calories but does not sacrifice on the taste. They've got great pills, tons of great seasonals as well. I'm telling you, one sip and you won't go back to the other beers you've been drinking in the past. It is the official beer of BK. It should be the official beer of you as well. It's Altstadt Beer. No impurities, no regrets.
Hey y'all, I'm Camille McKay.
And I'm Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations.
The old man and I are here to give you your summer weather forecast. It's hot.
That's right, kid.
Which means it's time for pool parties, grilling burgers, and taking a beach vacation, right?
Well, I don't know about a vacation, but Audiovisual brings more heat than any tropical destination.
It was worth a shot. I'll settle for some outdoor speakers.
You know, Audiovisual can do a lot more than that. We provide outdoor video screens, audio systems, landscape lighting, even solar shades for your patio to keep the Texas heat at bay.
Well, I'm sold. Let's wrap this up. I'm ready to lounge on a floaty and listen to some smooth jazz.
Well, that sounds wonderful, but some smooth reggae is the way to go this summer.
Good thing we can listen to both with the Sonos sound system. I call dibs on the floaty, though. Peace out.
Kid, wait a second. Give us a call at 512-255-8678 or visit us at avconsultations.com. That's 512-255-8678.
Back here on Open Gym on Texas Sports Unfiltered, wrapping it up on a Wednesday afternoon. Roy, it's not great that AD got traded to the Jets. I don't think the Colts are winning a Super Bowl, so he's not going to miss out on a ring. He will miss out on winning some, but I think he has a chance to restart now. It felt like maybe there was some lingering feelings about AD Mitchell in Indy. He maybe didn't fit into Shane Steichen's system the way that you would have wanted. And it felt this may be a new chance for him. I get Justin Fields isn't the guy you probably want to start fresh with, but getting a fresh start, I mean, they picked up AD Mitchell and Mozzie Smith, which are two guys who have maybe underperformed so far in the NFL, Mozzie Smith especially. AD Mitchell's had some good plays. He's never really worked into being that a guy who could really feel could play a number 2 wide receiver in the NFL yet. And maybe again with Garrett Wilson, they're able to build that a little bit more and put together a 1 and 2 there, which would be really nice for A.D. Mitchell.
You know what's going to suck for A.D. Mitchell?
Waking up in New Jersey?
No. Hey, New Jersey's nice. As long as
I just remember those old SNL bits with Fred Armisen playing the blind governor, and he would just, and every time he'd be like, "There's a smell, must be coming from New Jersey." It's just that's all I remember of it.
But here's what's going to suck for A.D. Mitchell: is that the Jets are going to get the number 1 pick, and they're going to take Fernando Mendoza instead of Ty Simpson.
You think?
Yep.
Oh, I think they're going to take Garrett Nussmeier.
That would be good. I just don't think they're smart enough to do that.
I think they're going to take somebody awful. They'll screw it up somehow.
Whatever the overwhelming number 1 pick is at quarterback,
yes,
they're going to take the other guy.
As our first meet out of the day, I was going to bring this up when we were talking about the Broncos playing the Texans, and it was an ugly game. Bo Nix was asked about what the Denver offense needs to do to try and improve and get some consistency.
You can put your finger on, or maybe more than one thing that can make your offense be consistent quarters 1 through 4 instead of these fourth quarter avalanches after 3 struggling quarters.
I think, if we can find a way not to have to play the number 1 defense in the league, that might help. But, they're trying to keep us from scoring at the same time we're trying to score. So it's not easy, and we found ways at times. And the good thing is we've fooled guys like you to believing that's easy at some point in the game. So I think that's, we always want to score every drive. That's, point blank period. That's our goal. Sometimes we fall short of that goal, and we have to, rely on the next drive and go score the next drive. But, I think at times.
There's Bo Nix giving his answer of, what helps? Not having to play the best defense in the league every week. That helps. Not having to play the Texans would help us look better, for sure. I'm like, yeah, probably would.
Yeah,
because
Texans are number 1 in the NFL in points allowed. So,
and they can't score them either. They just had a semblance of an offense right now, then they would be really good. But unfortunately, not what they put together for them. So a rough one there. One more real quick meathead for you. This one's just more funny too. Mike Vrabel asked if there was if they were close to any trades, the Patriots, to try and improve a team that's been playing really well.
Any measure of disappointment?
Well, first I would say that deals are like being pregnant. You either are or you aren't. There's no it's either a deal or it's not. So I don't know how close you can be.
That's Mike ridiculous.
It's very ridiculous. But I think that's more of his when he tells players, well, you were in trade rumors. And he goes, well, you weren't traded, right? Because then you weren't being talked about, clearly. Probably more of coach speak. But yeah, it does not feel like that is a correct statement at all. There were close trades. There were trades, and they just went like the trade that apparently Breece Hall, they offered a 4th round pick. The Kansas City Chiefs offered a 4th round pick for Breece Hall, and the Jets turned it down because they wanted a 3rd. By the way, the Jets do not have him under contract next year, I don't believe.
That's the Jets, baby.
That is the Jets.
I feel like, and maybe this is just a guy talking who doesn't have any kids, but I feel like pregnancy is a lot more of a certain thing. Just my opinion. Like, you can talk about making deals. You can get to the finish line with deals, and then all of a sudden at the last second it falls apart.
It's
really the same thing, Mike. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. He's probably talked to Steph Diggs about this a lot. Maybe that's a line that Steph Diggs uses.
That's a good point.
He's not the best at it of getting out at the last second. He completes all of his trades. Let's say that.
That dude has never pulled out of a situation that got too. I'm stopping. I can't.
All right. We appreciate everybody hanging out with us today on a Wednesday edition of Open Gym. We'll be back tomorrow. Bama Bruce joining the show to get us through some SEC action for the weekend as we start to look a little bit ahead. But we'll get more into Texas football and Texas basketball and all the good things as we continue along our week here on a bye week for Texas. So a little bit of an easy one, a little bit of a relaxed week for us. We don't necessarily have to sweat it out on a Saturday. But we'll get you more coverage and more talk and whatever you guys want to talk about, because we love having the conversation with you here on Open Gym. But until then, be kind, be safe, keep your underwear clean. We'll see you right back here tomorrow for more